intro and
I got
whatnot,
you.
we can kind of go from there.
All
Talk to
right.
him.
Yo, guys, what's going on? It is your boy Colinies, and today I'm here with my good friend Trihex, and we are going to be talking all things Smash, mental health, physical health, gaming news, and anything else that comes up in our conversation. This is going to be the first episode of potentially a recurring podcast, kind of like a test flight. We'll see how it goes. Make sure to let us know what you think. But regardless, we're going to go ahead and get right into it, man. We are here to talk Smash Ultimate for this first hour at least. And I'm excited, personally. I haven't got to talk Smash with nobody in a long time, so I'm ready.
Awesome. Well, fantastic intro. Before we get into it, though, I think it's important to contextualize our relationship.
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
a good point.
calculatedly interracial. It's important that people know this is organic, and we got
no
roots.
quotas here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, I guess we'll start first with, okay, so I play Smash Ultimate, you play Smash Ultimate.
Mm-hmm.
I play at a relatively competitive level. You are competitive professionally, etc.
For a long time.
Our Venn diagram has the biggest portion of that shared with the fact that we're both young Link mains.
True.
Right? Now, how do we meet, though? I actually don't remember the story here. Like, I'm sure you probably remember better than me. I know it was like 7 years ago or some shit like that.
Yeah, it was SmashCon, I want to say 2017. So this was Smash 4 times, and the last time we did a podcast together, you didn't remember this, which was funny to me, because it was like my starstruck moment. But you were at Chick-fil-A with Cosmos. You guys were eating, and
Yep.
I was like looking for somewhere to sit down, and me and Cosmos, obviously, we lived together. And I was like, oh, you mind if I sit with you guys? And you were like, yeah, sure. And then he had to go play, and then we were just like shooting the shit or whatever. And then we went back to the venue together and ended up like talking about life and Smash and dieting and all these kind of things for like 5-6 hours while watching Melee and Ultimate and crew battles and combo contests and the whole nine. And I told you this last time, but there was like a critical moment where I was about to cheat on my diet, and I was like 200 pounds at my heaviest back in, I was like 17.
So when I met you at Super Smash Con 2017, that was before you had the major glow up blow up where you lost all the weight?
I was not even I was not even streaming at the time. Like I stopped streaming from like age 15 till I was 18. Really 19, I'd say, is when I started streaming with like the objective of becoming like partner and like making a living and stuff like that. This was just like high school Colin, like simping Colin, you know what I mean? Friend zone
Normie Colin.
Big
Normie
Colin. Yeah, Cosmos used to call me the white snowman. Which is fucked up, by the way. But yeah, no, that was like a critical moment. You were like, bro, don't cheat on your diet. You've worked so hard to get to this point. I know, I can tell you're serious about it. Like, just come on, let's just watch this shit. We'll be fine. Like, and here I am, down 70 pounds all these years later.
Let me give you some credit there, actually. Okay, I do remember all this now.
Okay,
so Super Smash Con 2017. The context for the listeners here is the fact that like it was a venue that was like right next to the only thing that really you can really eat that was like affordable and cheap was like it was a Wendy's, a Chick-fil-A, and an Arby's,
something like that. Yeah,
it was 3 fast food joints, and so for like 3 days straight, it's like how much Chick-fil-A and Wendy's can you really tolerate?
That was tough, man. Jesus.
Yeah, there wasn't really like a healthy option nearby, unless you wanted to do like there was some like barbecue joint, but it wasn't like it wasn't fast food.
Well,
so it was
Chick-fil-A
like,
was like the only thing walking distance in reality, like within a 5-minute walk,
and affordable,
and it was like 100 degrees every day too.
Yeah. So yeah, no, you staying loyal to the game. You know, I get it. I get it, dude.
Dude, at Chick-fil-A, I used to get the grilled chicken nuggets, and I would like, if I wanted to cheat just a little bit, I would maybe dip them in just some honey, like because I had about like 15 to 25 grams of carbs a day. That was kind of my window. So if I like I did keto before keto was even in Walmart and all that shit.
What kind of, man, you were on the starvation diet.
Dude, I did keto with intermittent fasting for like 6 months. That was kind of, I did that like hardcore.
Felt like dog shit, dude.
Honestly, no, I didn't. I felt amazing, man. And I honestly wish I would still be able to do it now. It was hard. Don't get me wrong. Mentally, it was hard. And maybe that's part of the reason why I felt good was just because it was like, I was finally like self-disciplining and like kind of like seeing that I could stick to a system or whatever. But it was working for me. Like the high fat, I was eating enough fat, you know, like 90 to 120 grams a day.
We will poke this more during our dedicated health segment because I think I can think of the one thing that made all that click. because I have a lot of experience now with some of my own community where they're trying to get into dieting and whatnot. And I'm trying to figure out like, why is it I'm able to do discipline, but they're not, and what's not adding up here? And there's like this X factor that I think you found at that time in 2017, but I'm gonna save that juice for later.
Sounds good. I'm excited.
So yeah, that's how we introduced ourselves. That's how I first met you, and then I don't know. We fast forward a little bit here. Ultimate comes out,
and I remember that night too. So I'm at the.
Tell me more. Yeah, please continue.
So this was before I moved in, like officially to the loft when we like moved to Cleveland, Ohio. We lived in like a small town, kind of like 20 minutes or so away from my parents' house, and I would just go there after school every day for like 2 years and just hang out all the time. And when Ultimate first came out, I had like borderline moved into Sylvanus's room, and I was sleeping on his couch, and I had a little stream set up in his corner. And I was streaming after Cosmos because I would just take his host or whatever. And you rated me, and you rated me, and then you were like, "Yo, let's tomorrow if you're down, like, could you like teach me some stuff like about Young Link and blah blah blah?" And I was like, "Yo, holy shit, let's fucking go!" You know what I mean? I had like 400 viewers, and like it was right when the game came out, and I had been playing for an extra 30 days than everyone else because
there's a Mexico
piracy. yeah. Arg. Anyways, so that happened, and then we did the Young Link lesson, the first one, and I wish I would have saved that VOD, man. Damn, I wish I had that. Anyways, because that was a great. Like Pierce joined the call. Do you remember that?
Ooh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
God, man, I don't remember that. I remember being so tight because I was playing a lot of online. I'm like, God, it's so bad.
Dude, early elite was tough. Like it was like every other game was items and final smash meter, and like GSP was like scuffed, and yeah, it was bad.
I forgot about that. I forgot how bad it was in the beginning, dude. Holy shit.
I remember.
I bet you would remember. There's kind of an analogous parallel here with Mario Maker. When Mario Maker first came out, it was like, when it hit the shores, Japan had it for like 3 days earlier. And so like it was heavily skewed towards playing all the Japan levels. So like expert 100-man was like overwhelmingly Japanese trolls with no checkpoints and just, it was
I
just
remember
like,
that.
It was people were
you
like,
were under pressure.
And remember, this is at the time when everyone was like, everyone, their mom, everyone, their dog thought they were like the hottest shit at Mario 1. Like, oh man, I played Mario 1 when I was a kid. Trihex, you're bad at this game, bro. And I'm like, no, it's different.
You had the normies the first time normies came in.
It was the steepest Dunning-Kruger. They all thought it played like SMB 1 and SMW 1. They didn't
literally
know Wii U.
Yep.
And they're just gassing me hard about how you're bad at the game, retire, you're irrelevant. Oh my God, this game's not even that hard. I remember I was a beast when I was 9 years old. I'm like,
don't quit. Like,
oh, you should have been there. It was a unique time. That was a wild month. Like,
you know where I was one of the guys that was mad that you weren't like that. You were like selling out to the Mario Maker crowd. I was 15 and a shitter, so don't take it personally.
Yeah, Super Money Maker, Super Sellout
Super
Maker.
Money Maker.
how dare you stop playing Yoshi when this new game is fun as fuck? Yeah.
In our defense, we did watch a year of segmented runs and ILs, and we did do that for like 4 months of runs into Super Money Maker. But hey, regardless, I understand. The older I get, the more I understand, especially.
Well, believe you me, yeah. That's a deeper topic. I have more to say there, but I'm gonna segue further if we don't.
No, go ahead.
Disciplined, which is the whole thing here, right?
Do you want to transition into Smash real quick?
Yeah. So now people know who we are, where we come from. Oh God, the fact that even 2017 was 6 years ago.
I know.
Kind of like. Then you add the COVID tax. It feels like it was 10 years ago. Like no cap. Like
that's good.
I mean, am I wrong?
No, not at all, bro. I'm 23 years old now, man.
I know you. You say that like wait. You say that like I'm 23 years old. I have my hairline's receding and I have gray hair now. I'm Snake.
Yeah.
I'm 34. And it feels extra weird for me because I'm like I'm supposed to be like 2.5 kids, normie as fuck, and just like too busy for video games. And 34 feels more unrelatable to me now than ever, actually. So.
That's understandable, honestly. I can understand that.
It's weird. If you think 23 now for you is weird, wait until you hit 30, and it's like and you're still going to locals.
That's good perspective.
Like it's gonna
really will be, dude. I probably will be.
I mean, shit. It is what it is, bro.
It is what it is. That long grind. That's where I'm at. All right, so
what's good?
So one thing we could start off here with is that spicy Steve band drama.
All right.
I know you were curious about my thoughts on that, and if you guys don't know, for those of you who don't know, basically Steve, obviously a lot of people know how like meme dominant he's been for a while now. Kind of like a similar Bayonetta Smash 4 type situation where he came out and everybody was like, okay, like he's good, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, there's a lot of Steves winning tournaments all of a sudden. There's a lot of Steves like dominating online. And it went from the similar conversation of like, oh, he's a Wi-Fi character, blah, blah, blah. People just don't know the counterplay yet, versus the crowd of like, oh, he's going to be broken. Like, there's so much potential. I personally was in the camp of like, he's good, but he's a gimmick. I thought he was just kind of like, he was too gimmicky to become the best character in the game. That was my original view. Lo and behold, no, he actually just has enough gimmicks that are polarizing enough to actually dominate the game and potentially over-centralize the meta and just make it corny as fuck. Subjectively, of course, but regardless, time progresses. Steve start dominating at offline tournaments as well. I wouldn't say total domination, mostly just due to the fact that most top players were not willing to invest in Steve for whatever reason, personal reasons, blah, blah, blah. Didn't find him. His gameplay isn't necessarily the most fun for a top level Smash archetype style, if that makes sense. He's not a very like fundamentals based character. He's not a very like fast, dominant, like in your face aggression type character. He's more so like, I build a wall in the middle of the stage. I dig for a couple minutes. I do minecart over and over again until one of them hits. Block you off I put blocks on the ledge so you can't recover, stuff like that. It was annoying, and he definitely was rising the tier list quickly, but nothing too crazy at that time yet. Some Steves were doing really well, like Yanni was doing really well in the early post-COVID, like offline return. And then a Cola started absolutely dominating in Japan, which was kind of the first like Monka-esque moment when you just see like the best region in the entire world getting kind of shit on by like somebody that nobody had really ever heard of outside of like Japan before. And honestly, I'm not too sure. I'm not very educated on that topic specifically, but I don't know if he was even like relevant before Steve in Japan. So now we are at this point where a new technique was discovered called PMLG, I believe. I actually have no idea what it stands for. I
Phantom something.
Basically, what it is whenever you hit Steve and he is in like hit lag, which is what makes moves able to combo or like multi-hits connect into each other. It's the time when you get hit where you can't do anything. You can't DI, you can't jump, you can't act. He can cancel that hit lag and basically just hit you for hitting him in basically any situation. Like regardless of if he's on the ledge, let's say he's on the ledge, he jumps, you read his jump and you hit him with a move, he can just kind of cancel out that hit lag while you're hitting him with the move and then hit you for it. Let's say you're like hitting him with like Young Link up B on the ground, for example. He can just kind of like negate the beginning part of that move so that the rest of the hits don't connect and hit you for that.
I think an easier way to put it is like, for the characters that have super armor, like Bowser or Yoshi's second jump, imagine if when they're like surviving through their super armor, they can react to getting hit during it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's super armor until they want to actually hit you.
Yoshi's second jump is a really good example, actually. So like, yeah, like whenever you try to hit Yoshi out of his second jump and he just kind of like armors through your shit, that's pretty much what Steve can do virtually at almost any time. And I know there are some specific caveats here and there, but it is virtually that bad. Yeah,
and I have a few tweets here I'm just showing off that from my collection of people potentially call them the 9/11 of Smash Ultimate. Like,
yeah, to say it's controversial.
If you were on Twitter on this day, it's like, holy shit, dude. If you play Smash, it was kind of insane.
So basically the next conversation that took place after this technique was discovered, because this was like nightmare scenario. The Steve mains were kind of like
Wait, pause. You should also elaborate here that it's not particularly hard to do. Unlike a lot of the other more niche Steve tech, it's not like some incredibly obscure thing. It's not really that hard to do.
Mm-hmm. And even then, like a majority of Steve's, he's designed in a way to where it's like he's very simple, but it just takes. He's almost like a Kazuha type of character without the inputs. Like you do have to practice like your inputs and like get down the succession of combos and inputs or whatever. But it's nothing like there's no real advanced things happening in the Steve advantage state or anything like that. And this is in a similar vein where it's like it is just sort of like you react to getting hit, you input something, and then boom, you're out. That's kind of like one of the major problems is because this could even happen on accident. That's how like simplistic it is. And yeah, so the conversation begins pretty much immediately. Like this could be ban worthy. And then like that branched off into an all-out war, pretty much. And one of the things I think is most telling about this topic is the fact that you don't really see anyone saying, like, this is fine. Like, it kind of became immediately... It started at, are we banning Steve, or are we able to ban this technique specifically? Mm-hmm. I thought that was one of the most interesting things, because I've never seen anything like that in Smash before. Like something truly game breaking, let alone the fact that it is on the best character in the game. One of the most polarizing characters in Smash history as well. Yeah, that made this conversation accelerate and escalate very quickly to, we got to get rid of them. We got to do something about this now before, it just becomes like almost a Smash 4 Bayonetta situation. I would say the Brawl Meta Knight situation is a little hard to draw parallels to just because it was such a different time. But I do think the Smash 4 Bayonetta situation is a great parallel. And that's one of the reasons why, personally, I support the ban. We can get into that a little bit later. What happens next is a lot of, Robin Hood-ass TOs go ahead and take up their mantle on Twitter and start drafting their tweet to announce that their tournament will no longer be... or Steve will be banned from their tournament, or the technique will be banned. And it's sort of like the story of Ultimate's rule set so far in general. Every region is making their own individual decision. There's no real unified like decision-making ability between like different regions in the world, let alone in the country, let alone in each state. So like, it's a nightmare scenario for sure. It's very complicated.
Okay. No, you're not wrong, and thanks for so eloquently, like, kind of giving us all the pretext here on that.
You're welcome. I tried. I don't follow this stuff too closely these days. I'm not gonna lie, but I tried.
You did good. You did good.
Thank you.
So if I may now add a little bit more to that. So the conversation at this point, now that you've seen here in the chat, that there's a character specific exploit that does essentially rupture the intended flow of the neutral game, where you can just like. Okay, you have the Steve cornered. You called out what they're gonna do. You want to go ahead and oppress and deliver your advantage state.
Yep.
But they can just kind of like Uno card reverse you.
Yeah, risk reward is completely just thrown out the window.
Free Uno card, get out of jail free card. That's not particularly technical to achieve. It's not hard to really do.
Mm-hmm.
And they including being able to do like mine cart out of it. So it's like. Which you have to respect the shit out of,
which is already probably the best move in the whole game.
Yeah. There's a lot going on there. You gotta with minecart on its own front here, right? Yes. And so the convo quickly became okay. Like, do we ban the character entirely now, or do we ban the tech? And the issue here with like I'm team ban the tech, obviously, which I'll get into in a second here. More on my
We're gonna have a little debate here. Ooh.
Oh yeah. But that's my core outlook. The problem here is that you can't really. The difficulty with the practicality of actually doing a ban tech is that it would require proving intent. Can you prove that they were deliberately trying to do the tech here? And then teams have to go like review the VOD to see here. Makes tournaments come to a standstill. Logistically, it feels like it's an impossibility.
Yes.
Multi-hits are already janky in this game, so they can just fail and it might not even been the Steve trying to do the thing or whatever. So enforcing a tech ban feels impractical and completely already like, underpaid TOs. Like, who the fuck's going to do all this shit, right? Who's going to watch it? Who's going to watch? How many replays are we really going to watch here?
Mm-hmm.
So that feels impractical. So therefore, you have to default to ban the character because we can't have tournaments going to a standstill over Timmy being salty about losing to a Steve and calling for a replay. A replay watch.
Well, here's the problem, right? With the banning the tech, and it's like, okay, so we just had Collision happen, which did have the ban the tech rule set, which it seems I didn't see any controversy. It didn't seem like any real like issues happened, which is great. But at the same time, I am worried that it's a Pandora's box situation where nothing, it's like, okay, sure, that tournament went off without a hitch, but as soon as it does happen, it's going to be a very tricky situation because in order to make it logistically possible for the tech to be banned by itself without Steve being banned, it requires some form of incentive to not just stall the tournament by calling for a replay check constantly. So in order to enforce that, I'm pretty sure the Collision rule set was that the player that calls for the replay, if the PMLG tech was not used, then they lose the game outright.
Right. And so, I think that's fair, actually. Yeah, there's got to be a consequence to your proportionality.
There does have to be a consequence for sure, but that's tough because, like you said, let's say somebody falls out of your multi-hit, right? Let's say, and in the heat of a competitive match, it basically disincentivizes. I don't think that's a word. It makes it very difficult to be the player who gets PMLG'd, and it makes it very difficult to not abuse it if you're a Steve main who's sort of in a situation where it's like your tournament life's on the line, you're playing against a rando in pools. You know what I mean? It kind of like it creates a little bit of a gray area.
I'm not sure about that though, because I mean, so a parallel here would be like in Melee, wobbling was banned, and I mean, IC mains definitely. Ooh, I could wobble the fuck out of him. I got that grab, and they know to not wobble. They do the swap off alternative, and wobbling was banned. So I feel like I'm not sure if that is like an impossibility there, but what I do think is understandable though is that like it will take it's going to be a heavy stigma. Do you really want to be the first player at any major Smash tournament to do the whole?
Exactly.
I accuse him of using that. Like, it's almost like calling out like almost like a Me Too moment. Not to Me Too here. I'm sorry.
I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
You will be known. Think about it. Doesn't matter what your tournament results are now. You are now known as the first one to attempt to call out and enforce Steve Tech ban in an actual tournament scenario.
And I've been in so many tournament situations before where rule set disputes happens like in real time. And one of my like key factors that makes me feel like this is not enforceable realistically is the fact that like I've been in a situation where rules have been enforced incorrectly, and I'm now having to debate philosophically with a TO over the rule set of their own tournament, and 95% of the time they're volunteer TOs, and a majority of the situations require them to go get help from another TO, in which case now it's a he said, she said sort of situation, and it creates like a very almost like a Red Scare kind of situation where it's like every time I'm playing a Steve, not only am I worried about having to fight this broken ass character, but I also am now worried about keeping my eyes peeled for any sort of situation like that. And I get that like a majority of C players are not scumbags or nothing like that. You know what I mean? It's like, but at the same time, man, it's like,
no, what you're saying is very fair here.
It's tough.
You have to dedicate an arbitrary amount of brain RAM, 10%, 5% to like this thing that exists.
You do.
Okay. So now with that, I mentioned here that I'm tech banned, but tech ban's impractical, therefore character ban, right?
And I do think that's like a very reasonable position.
Okay, now let's talk about why I am tech ban or character ban. I haven't actually explained why here yet. My issue here with it is, and I'm going to bring up a hot example here, okay? Throw it back here. Brawl tripping. Brawl tripping, people forget here. Brawl tripping was a arbitrary rupture of neutral that could lead to stampeding to just give the disadvantaged player get out of jail free card and take over in a tournament. And there's probably numerous examples of literally tournaments decided by tripping into bullshit
with characters that have like infinite regrab combos and Meta Knight.
Now the thing here is Brawl tripping was non-discriminatory and equally vulnerable across all players, all cast here. We're talking about the same consequence, neutral rupturing with the whole Steve with the Steve shit, but it's character exclusive and uniquely advantageous to only one player in that scenario.
Right, like the equity of Brawl tripping is not applied to something like this.
Yeah, so I think just based purely on that like, what's the word here? Like logical dynamic parallelity. Oh, that's not even a word. Holy shit! Here.
Yeah, I know. I failed too. Don't worry.
I'm just like, yeah, this is like, there's no way you can be pro this. This tech is garbage. You gotta get rid of it here. Yeah. But again, I'm only going as far as saying Steve ban because there's no way you can fucking enforce it. Like,
well, now okay, how about this? Let's get into like the real spicy stuff, right?
Oh, okay, sure. Okay. I actually have more on this here, but okay, what's your spice?
It's just like, realistically here, how much are we allowed to be biased due to the fact that it is Steve, right? Like, let's say that this tech was a Jigglypuff tech or a Ness exclusive tech or something like that, right? How much would people be adamantly pro banning the character outright due to the logistic argument? Because I've seen a lot of people, this has been like one of the biggest.
If it was a low tier character had this tech, would we be as upset?
If it wasn't the most hated character, the most accepted, or it's outwardly accepted to be vitriolic towards Steve, right? It's like, it's not bad for your image. It's not going to get you into hot water. It is probably like a mean thing to do, but regardless, people are toxic to Steve and Steve players.
Couple things there. So if the character was, uncontestedly low tier, like Ganon or Jigglypuff, right? They have such a minuscule amount of tools to really oppress on most like higher tier characters, right? Whether it be like frame trapping, ledge trapping, air mobility, etc.
Like ice climbers.
It might ultimately neuter the application. Worthless. 1, 2. What was the other thing here? I would still want to get rid of it. I would still be principled here because I was like, I can't take. Okay, let's go back here, right? Time capsule. 2008 Brawl tripping. No, I was like this game I can't take it seriously, dude. Like every time a trip would happen, I'm like, PM. Like once PM dropped, I was out, my dude. I can't play Looney Tunes the game anymore. This is fucking dumb. Like when a trip happens, and then I'm getting Meta Knight Infinite Caped or whatever. Like it was ridiculous.
You're fighting Meta Knight who's literally in the air the entire game, never has to worry about tripping, and
Yes. So I was like, I endorse PM purely on the basis that remove tripping. Like that I was sold at that alone here, and that's kind of where that's where Smash had its weakest point because you had your team purists who were like for Brawl, and you had your team that was like Team Sanity that wanted PM to thrive because we weren't getting a game that was anywhere near like competitive, viable, and even the most casual of capacity. And thankfully, Smash 4 came in and kind of like fixed most of my issues.
It started it, It started the trend forward. That's another topic we should talk about another time, by the way. Just on a segue, I would love to talk about the transition into Smash 4 from, But regardless...
now, with your sauce, though, on this here, my sauce would be almost in parallel with PM here. We're not gonna get Nintendo support ever. That's already because we're in a unique position now after the July 2020 Me Too shit show that happened in Smash community, and with the collapse of the Smash World Tour, the collapse of the folding of Panda, the only official path we got to talk about that too sometime. Like all these things are done now, right? So we're officially now we are perma-grass.
We're in a post Nintendo era, I would say, for the first time.
We're in the actual apocalypse. This is the apocalypse now. There is zero path to Nintendo ever like giving a flying fuck about us.
Which I still don't agree 100%, but I won't go into this argument with you again because
this would be a different topic.
It's never been a harder position to take for me. Yeah.
So the thing here though is that if in theory we can use modded versions of Ultimate that would just have a built-in detection for the tech, then we can ban a tech. Then I would allow Steve.
It's an interesting point.
Hot take maybe from me there, but if you had software that can detect the tech all the way through, And boom, now it's out of your head. There's no way the player can sneak it in or whatever here. They attempt it, it happens, boom.
But as you know, and I do know that you will consider this or have considered this already, but it's like, it's just one of those hypotheticals. It's the same line of logic as that I sort of subscribe to, or the first thing I thought of was, okay, hopefully Nintendo like comes out with the Smash Ultimate Director's Cut version on the Switch 2. Hopefully Nintendo like creates or just comes out with a patch eventually, something like that. Like, there doesn't seem to be anything that we can do in the near future, or anything that's like realistically achievable to create the level playing field that existed before this again, without like the copium hopium route. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like there's any realistic enforcement of the rule across the board that not everybody, but a majority of players would agree maintains competitive integrity to the standard that we want. The diminishing returns that we get from allowing this character to continue to evolve doesn't seem worth the easy solution, the upfront kind of clear, just outright ban of Steve to avoid any of that kind of.
Are you throwing me your proposition for like
sort of, yeah, like
all the way?
Yeah, it's just like, it just seems like without some sort of a dream hypothetical situation, right, that there isn't going to be a level-headed approach to a tech ban that doesn't create. And I almost feel like, I guess, while I'm saying this, I'm sort of seeing the way that you could apply this same line of logic to what I'm saying about how if the situation happened in tournament where somebody used it and you call the replay and then the TO doesn't recognize it, let alone the fact that you can't even go backwards and forwards in the replay mode in Smash, and you can't fucking slow it down, and you can't.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Like, that's why I feel like this line of logic makes more sense, but I do see the other point. It just seems to me like, I want to
advocate again here. I only entertain tech ban in a world where we have like mass homebrew accessibility, right, and a custom version of Ultimate.
You know what the problem is though, is that there legitimately are people that have a ton of influence over rule sets that do support tech ban.
No, okay, so that's a whole different topic here. I was bringing up an abstract without any of the context.
Exactly, and I knew that you know that,
like,
but
CFW, custom firmware, and homebrewing a Switch is like far from like easy peasy, you know.
Let alone even viable on a majority of Switches. Yeah,
we're talking about like hardware woes and accessibility woes and like whatnot here. And also, I bring it up because like this is already happening in Melee. Melee has like, you know, UCF, Universal Controller Fix. Right. That on a bigger spectrum here, you have like hardware mods out the fucking wazoo with the notches.
Yeah, they open the box. Yeah,
and the box. I don't want to get into like, you know,
literally open the Pandora's box.
There's a whole lot of shit going on right there. Again, that's a whole different day though.
It is.
I just want to bring up that, like, you know, Melee is doing fine with with modified software. Fuck Nintendo.
And it also took them 20 plus years to get there, which is another point. Like,
to be fair though, about 13 of those years were pre-social media, sure, mostly Smash board. Like, you know, there was, you know, things really picked up post. I'd argue like during PM era onward. I would say, like 2013 onwards, when I really started seeing like the renaissance of like tolerance towards modifying Melee, I would say. And
even then, like, until 2020, really, like, philosophically, I wouldn't say more than half the Melee community were even on the same page. So
that's fair. Yeah.
Let alone the TOs and like the people that, because the TOs has always been the biggest. I guess that's what I'm saying as a player, that I feel like is a very important perspective to keep in mind, is the division in philosophy between the tournament organizers and the players themselves. This is one of Ultimate's like the biggest problems.
Competition, right?
Yes.
Players want the purest form of competition objectively for max fairness,
and TOs want to appeal to the most people possible.
They want the revenue, and they want a better spectator-friendly thing. If spectators they're hating Steve to the point where it's hurting the sustainable economic.
Even then, like, I think even more important than the viewership aspect of it is more so like they want the most people going to their events as possible. That's what makes the tournament able to exist. And the argument you would make
here is that like Steve hinders that appeal.
I think a lot of the TOs believe that banning Steve hinders their attendance more than not.
Wait. So you think that TOs don't want to ban Steve?
I think TOs want.
I think it's
to...
more that TOs don't want to. Like, it's kind of this whole thing. Like, like, okay, who's gonna ban Alex Jones first? Sorry, I'm political right now, but like,
I get what you mean.
The point there is that like no one did it until the first one did it. Then once,
and then they. Yeah.
Then all of them like, okay, well, YouTube or Apple, whoever did it first, like they took the fall for it being the first one, right? The whistleblower. And then all of them like, okay, yeah, we're going to move on.
And similar to that kind of situation, it's also like the first people that do it are usually the most radical people involved. Like they're the most like, ideology driven kind of like, we just need Steve out of our tournaments. Our tournaments are dying since Steve has taken over the meta, blah, blah, blah. All right, well, this gives us a convenient reason to ban Steve. That's kind of like, it's hard because I'm not a TO, and I do understand their hesitancy, but at the same time, I just feel like it's a very critical thing for us to kind of come together on a consensus for. And the fact that we just had the first major tournament since this tech has been discovered, run with tech ban only, and have no like real issues with that, it scares me. It does. It makes me feel like it's going to turn into one of these situations where it's going to turn into a sort of a similar Bayonetta type situation where even though Bayonetta did not have a game-breaking, uncounterplayable, well, she kind of did, but we don't have to go all into the specifics about that because I could write a book.
Actually, I was about to say when you were done with your point, I was gonna bring up right there with him. Like, honestly, though, again, now while it coincidentally becomes character ban, that's just on my purely logical side. The emotional appeal side here, it's a whole other side of this whole thing.
And
right?
that's
There's
tough.
two sides of the argument. I'm also still, even on the emotionally, I'm still banned Steve because we're in a different situation now. The sustainability of the economic and revenue models of Smash are at stake right now. It's literally grassroots here, right? It's like who's fueling the pot? I mean, I would argue we were doing pretty good when it was like, Beyond the Summit carrying the shit out of making sure Smash is relevant.
Yeah.
Okay. Hang on. That was a.
Yeah, this is a take you don't see on Twitter from me. Okay.
Oh Lord, and we can. Okay. Let's unpack that on episode 2 or something.
Yeah, I'm down.
There's a lot going on there.
Because I would actually like to kind of think about that a little harder before I go on to my rant about Summit.
Logistically, I get it's a whole different thing on the back end when you have to campaign for Summit. Okay, I don't know if that's what we're talking about here or not, but like,
and even just the culture that it provokes and.
Okay.
And the way they handled the Panda situation and the fact that they're all resigning out of nowhere and suddenly withdrawing as soon. It's almost like maybe Alan had a point with some of the things he...
Episode 2 is it's a whole different thing.
Just a little teaser for them. Just a little teaser.
We're on Steve here. So the thing about that is, though, is that like there was a, BTS Summit was netting 60K concurrents for, finals. They had, 8 summits a year, right? I think it was like a...
Yeah.
Right. 4 Ultimate, 4 Melee. And they were able to net some maybe some sponsors and whatnot, but it was a lot of crypto shit. But
that is
still,
also true. Yeah,
some money's better than nothing. You don't want to see Smash evolve from being a prestigious esport with a respectable concurrent audience to back to the nether realm of 2013 when it was like poverty as fuck. You think it's bad. You think Smash Payout's bad now?
Yeah.
It can get a lot worse there. So I understand that if Steve devolves to the perspective to the audience is like Bayonetta 2.0, then yeah, you got to do what's good for you got to do what's good for the spectator audience.
And the worst part about it is
dies anyway.
Steve is, in my opinion, and I don't think this is a controversial opinion, he's more boring to watch. He's more frustrating to play against. I agree with both. He has like very, very, very brain dead counterplay that requires you to virtually play the clock or this motherfucker literally builds a wall in the middle of the stage. He doesn't wall you out. He builds a wall.
He literally uses he spawns resource that is meant to prolong interaction as far as possible. He wants you to obviously stay away from him until he can mine his gold, and then we interact. He's the anti-interaction.
Yeah, it's like
at least with FGC characters like Kazuya and all of them. Like, yeah, you don't want to react because they have Touch of Death, and they can just ignore neutral entirely.
Right, okay. But it's not the first time we've had to play that sort of
that's a different problem than Steve, who literally wants you to go away and just go AFK for 3 minutes while I get my diamonds.
Yeah,
it's a whole different problem.
It's a whole different problem because
and then you have your block stalling off the ledge.
Yeah,
okay, that's cringe. And then you also have like a infinite block teching. You know, okay, I'm at 230, build a block. I'm gonna tech it.
He ladders you up to the sky
and then get you. Yeah. I'm gonna tech it, then get you. Yeah, it's just like, okay, yeah, my turn, bitch. It's like, okay,
like, dude, he literally drops an anvil on you after you break through his blocks that are blocking you from the ledge. That untechable stage spikes you, does 30. He has minecart, which is quite literally unreactable when it's the gold version, like actually unreactable at any kind of distance that's realistically like you're playing real neutral.
And it's lingering if you get stuck in it. Like,
his entire game plan is incentivizing, like his flowchart incentivizes them to not only stall you, but also they are literally getting like a free bait without having to earn it. Like, you're always going to be the one that has to engage Steve, and you're also always going to be the one that has to like read him harder than he has to read you. Because he has unreactable like burst options in your face that kill, that do tons of damage, that literally catch you in the cart, and then his up smash kills at 90% for no damn reason. Diamond F smash, gold F smash kill you at 80%. Back air is extremely strong, safe on shield. Yeah, forward air spikes, kills off the side. Up tilt like creates like, 60 to 80% combos guaranteed.
Like Vanilla Steve has like easily 3 too many things that make him like an absolute walking death machine.
He never received a single nerf. Like, there's a lot of reasons, in my opinion, why it...
Of course you didn't. Sakurai spent too much time reconfiguring all 100 stages to be friendly. So yeah, you were never gonna.
At least Living Room looks good.
I worked too hard to get that fucker a nerf.
At least the dogs in the background of Living Room are HD. You know, it's all good. Yeah, you see how quickly it goes into Doomerville when you start really thinking about Steve on a deep level. Now, just imagine how it is when you're playing against that shit like trying to compete at a top level. Like I'm watching a player like Void, right? I think it was like 2 or 3 straight majors. He won't say this because he doesn't prioritize his tournament results the same way as perhaps like me, as someone who's a big fan of him, does. But I can clearly see that this dude is literally doing great against everybody that plays a character that isn't Steve, Kazuha, Min, blah, blah, blah. Like one of the Pack 2 characters. He's losing like somebody like Onin. I get it. You guys are friends with him, blah, blah, blah. But I'm sorry, this dude was absolutely nobody before Steve came out. And now he is top 5 in the entire world. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna pretend like that's a coincidence by any means, and I'm not saying that he's a bad player, he's not smart or whatever, but this dude's literally in high school, only plays Elite Smash, shows up to majors, and shits on 6-7 year veteran pro players who are salaried to play this game, who literally have been top 10 in multiple Smash games, who have blah blah blah. Akola takes over Japan, dominates them. Obviously Japan has a less I don't know for sure, but it seems to me like they sort of embraced Nkola more than perhaps would happen in like the American Smash community if a similar situation happens. Like, I didn't see Akola, it didn't seem like there was a narrative of Akola like getting a lot of hate. But personally, I hate watching him play. I hate watching him shit on all my favorite players, all the best players in the world. I'm sorry, it's just like... It's hard for me to
now we're getting into the emotional side.
Yeah,
and this is a very valid point here. I do think Steve is bad for the health of Smash as a spectating esport. And I think on that argument alone here, especially now again with the collapse of Panda and BTS and all the other shit now, it's more important now to really like get these these like 12 to 15 majors a year sustainable.
Yeah,
because if even like half of them die in the next 2 years, we're talking about, only, I don't know, again, you talk about only like 6 majors now, and it could quickly get to the point where
how quickly does it turn to a situation where a majority of our legacy players are retiring? Like, how quickly does it get to a situation
and
where
you get to
online Smash dies?
You get to where like, where you literally don't know what's going to happen and you have to do revival of Melee. Like, we're like, this is the one major that's happening. There's no others on the forecast. This is the all or nothing. What happens here, and that's it. I mean, look at Melee with Evo 2013. This is not unforeseen here. Melee was on the way out. Evo 13 was the miracle. By the way, that was a part of, just saying here. That was a part of that.
I love that.
Miracle that it became the ninth bonus game, the afterthought of Evo.
Yep.
And then,
got 100,000 viewers.
Spectatorship proved its concept as a
also
viable.
How about this point, just to kind of like build on your point, like what is currently the only realistic way to make a living off Smash without being a top 10 player in the world? Content,
baby. Look at Larry Lurr, look at Wadi, look at Leffen. These payouts ain't getting the bills paid.
Which is fine. Personally, I don't really, I mean, maybe this is just my copium or whatever, but like I don't necessarily view it as a situation where that's just reality, right? Like, we haven't earned the right to have everybody make a livable wage off of winning their local. I would say that as somebody who has made a livable wage off winning their local before. It was never sustainable. It was extremely stressful. It's not it's a toxic lifestyle to pretend like is viable. But at the same time, it's a very realistic lifestyle as long as you're able to actually build something for yourself in terms of a brand. And that's not achievable for everybody. That's not necessarily realistic for everybody. But that is reality. And it's sort of like, I almost feel as a content creator, it's like, damn, like, you guys are really going to sacrifice the viability of the game. Like, I see what you're saying now. It is actually a really good point. Like, in this time, especially for the Smash community, like, this is not the time to start walking on eggshells about this kind of stuff, and I will say, to the credit of a lot of TOs, like, thank you for actually, and to a lot of the top figures, somebody like Larry, I think Larry deserves a lot of like flowers for like his input in this situation. His video was like concise, here, well informed, not emotional, but like just emotional enough to like not pretend. He's not pretending like he doesn't want to see Steve banned on an emotional aspect. But he also, it was just perfect. It was perfect. That's somebody that I think absolutely has a respected voice in the community for good reasons. Been around for, damn near 15, 20 years in the Smash community as a top player, as somebody who has seen every drama that comes from Melee, every drama that came from Meta Knight, every drama that came from Smash 4 Bayonetta. Like even somebody, and I know obviously a lot of people take this for what you will, but somebody like Zero, like saying like, we should have banned Bayonetta in Smash 4. We made a mistake there. I would hope not to see us repeat it again. Like just little things like that. Like it really is indicative that this is kind of like a watershed moment, like a line in the sand has been drawn and we need two diverging paths in front of us. And I think it's time for the Smash community to take the path that we have traveled less in the past. That's sort of how I agree.
I agree, and we can now bring evidence to that. Since we both agree here, banning Steve, even just purely on the merit of the sustainability of Smash economically, spectatorship, and what the audience does not want to engage with seeing more of, right? Mm-hmm. On that front, we already agree on that. But we can also add, now, unlike during the Bayonetta era, we have the evidence of Bayonetta to prove here that, I mean, what did everyone say? What killed Smash 4? You know the moment, I know the moment.
I know what killed Smash 4? Smash 4 died as soon as we saw all of our heroes getting skyrocketed off the top of the stage, star KO'd off the top by Bayonetta ladder combos. And Evo, we saw it.
I was waiting for it.
I was wondering if that's what you wanted. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, you did good. Actually, I made it a little too vague there because I didn't narrow it down enough. But yes, what match killed it, and you know what it was.
Yeah.
It was
Zero versus 17? Salem Evo. Oh, you're talking about Bayonetta. Oh, Captain Zack versus Lima.
Yeah, Captain Zack. Well, okay. Well, which one you referring to? You're saying
I was talking about Salem beating Zero, or like Salem winning Evo when we were on ESPN and we were like main stage at Evo.
I don't remember. Okay, wait. So Salem won. Okay, I remember that. But Salem, why was that? Wait, Salem was.
So Zero had a big lead. Game 10, Grand Finals reset. Right. It was like a absolute battle of a tournament. Everybody got smoked by Salem in top 8. And then he played versus Zero in Grand Finals, reset the bracket. And then in the Game 5 of the reset, Zero was at like 30, 40%, something like that. Salem was at like 150, 160. Like Zero was one hit away. He was playing it smart. He made a mistake. He decided to monkey flip high to try to recover to mid stage early. Salem hits him with one witch twist into
Everything.
ABK, into another witch twist, into like the triple jump one, and that one, or no, I don't even remember. I think it was 1, 2, 3, and then dies off the top on the fourth one at like 50%. Yeah, that's how he won Evo. Zero literally never ever recovered from that. And then, but what people also don't talk about is the next week, because I was at this tournament, Midwest Mayhem 10, I think, which was like a pretty big like regional series, couple hundred entrants. It would happen like every other month or so. Zero and Salem played again in grand finals, and quite literally in game 10 of the reset grand finals, the same exact fucking shit happened.
Wow.
And yes, there was like enough like mistakes by Zero in the moment that made it so we could justify like he should not have recovered high. He did a bad habit, whatever. But like, I'll never forget the heartbreak I suffered when I watched the better player lose both those tournaments back-to-back weekends while actually trying his absolute hardest. It just felt like we lost. Like we lost. The game was,
we did lose.
Yeah. But no,
then
you're actually right,
to,
though. Yeah.
And then you fast forward to Bayonetta Ditto Grand Finals, and it's just like... I was actually... So I was there for that in person, and people were leaving. People left. Whenever it was confirmed that, you know, I forget who it was. Whoever was like in losers finals to
Lima
to try to meet.
Or no, it was Captain Zach was in losers finals. Lima was in Grand's winner side.
Well, who was Captain Zach facing in losers finals?
I think
like,
Tweak.
Whoever that was. As soon as Captain Zach won loser final, that everyone left. Everyone was like, oh, okay, double Bayo. Okay, I literally don't care about it this year now. I'm out.
Dude, and that tournament was Bayonetta was dominating that tournament.
Oh yeah, I mean,
bad, like worse than any other tournament that whole game. Like, wow.
Dang, chat got me with the chat's got the clip on speed dial here.
Oh, I like that. God. Oh my god, they actually put up the real clip.
Yeah, we got the real thing 5 years ago.
Oh my god, man, Coney! I forgot about Coney on stage. Dude, this was so cringe. And by the way, this is coming from someone I genuinely like Lima a lot, and I think he's a cool ass dude. He's funny, and I understand why they did this. Because I was this was like the height of my passion. I'd say was this time period. I didn't think it was as dramatic as a lot of people made it out to be, but at the same time, it was like that was the first time I realized that how much optics like really matter to like the wider player base. Like because you know I was pretty young at the time, so I see the same thing happening again, where it's like those that are at the height of their passion right now, maybe they're new, like Ultimate's their first game, like maybe they're Steve Mains, or maybe they just have a really open mind because they're young and blah 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 creative, and the Smash community is more in general like very open minded and stuff like that. I can see how a diehard sect of the community can sort of sabotage the prospects for the community at large in the long term by trying to do the most fair thing ideology. I can't say that word. The most fair thing, like
ideological,
from like a abstract moral standpoint.
Yep. And
that's just sort of.
So that's a great point. If I may end it.
Yeah,
because I can bring another angle for like the 5 haters left who were still like, these 2 Smash losers sitting here spending an hour on Steve being banned. Get over it, boohoo. Yeah, you know, it's a what they call it, 20 MX, 20 Minecraft. I don't know whatever the fucking shit is. Yeah. Keep in mind here that even if we look at esports or just the history of competition here, even conventional sports are not absent of having changes done in the presence of spectator preference here.
Absolutely. Shot clock in basketball is a great example.
Shot clock happened. I was going to literally bring up here the 3-point line. The 3-point line in basketball was added because of the because quite frankly, whenever the meta had shifted to dunking being the ultimate way to shut down all defensive options,
overly centralized,
just get taller dudes to be able to dunk more. It became so dunk centric. There needed to be an incentive to do something else, because this was an over dominant strategy that proved bad for the viability of spectatorship.
Yep.
So they added a 3-point line, and like I don't know what year it was, but it was definitely like
the 70s, 60s, something like that.
Yeah, it was conventionally speaking fairly recent. You know, it's for the history of basketball itself here.
Yeah.
And I wonder what led that decision here: money, sustainability, economics,
also just like having a larger pool of potential players. That's one of the biggest things as well.
That too. It's also a paywall because then you're like, okay, yeah, you want to play basketball, become 7'8", and then you win.
Yeah,
right?
You want to play Smash 4, learn how to SDI. How about that? Does that bring back memories?
Yeah, literally, yeah. You can't get out of the Bayo combo. Well, you're toast.
You better learn to recognize when you get PMLG'd, kid.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think there's plenty of like logical ways we can do this all day here, but I think we've already done a great job explaining here.
I agree. The last thing I'll say is this,
and emotionally.
My final point on this is that
go ahead.
I just want to say that Smash Ultimate is a sort of miracle in the way that it is balanced. It is probably the greatest balance in any competitive game that I have ever personally experienced. It's insane to me that I go to a tournament and I am quite literally prepared to fight over 80 characters, 80 matchups. Something that like Melee can't understand, something that no other game can really emulate the amount of spectator enjoyment that can come from like the variety of characters and the amount of preparation that the players do in order to be in line with that balanced competitive atmosphere that Ultimate created. And this is somebody like Kazuha is definitely a threat to that balance, but at the same time Kazuha jumps on frame 7. Every other character in the game jumps on frame 2. The counterplay was clearly intentionally designed, and this is coming from one of the biggest Kazuha haters in the game. Like, somebody like Terry, like, he has so much annoying bullshit, but at the same time, he can't snap to the ledge. Like, there's so many characters in this game that have, like, very, very polarizing bullshit mechanics that don't, like, actually endanger the potential for other characters to still succeed at a high level, whereas Steve quite literally requires you to either be able to time him out or be able to like touch of death him or be able to recover without having to go to the ledge. Like, we're talking about Smash here, like that's a central mechanic. There's just so many little things that Vanilla Steve threatens the competitive balance that Ultimate somehow achieved by being the last character with no patches, by having advanced techniques come every day, like left and right, that just continue to push it even harder, like by having so much potential to break the game, that we saw something like we just saw where a game-breaking mechanic came out of nowhere. Ban this motherfucker, man. Get him out. Get him out. That's it. That's my point. I'm done.
All right. Well, we will see what. So officially, now comes the aftermath here. So officially, where are we at right now? We have Collision ban the tech.
Yep.
And then Hungrybox's bi-weekly Ultimate Series, the coin box, has banned Steve.
That's true. Also, like a lot of regions around the U.S. have. My region has.
This is true. Yeah, you're right. A lot of locals are already doing the same thing here.
A lot. I wouldn't say there's many statewide bans. Maybe like 5 or 6 states have just outright banned them. It's gonna turn into
Louisiana did. I know my team did.
Wow, interesting. Ohio has not, because historically Southern Ohio has always had a very liberal mindset in terms of like rule sets. Like, I played Castle Siege in 2017, Smash 4, blah blah blah. Anyways. It's going to be a thing where like a lot of regions won't pull a trigger, but a lot of regions have. So far, there's like maps on Twitter and Reddit that I've seen that kind of like outline. God, this is a clusterfuck. My goodness.
You need some kind of like legion of like TOs to kind of come in and facilitate things a little bit.
Which is just another clusterfuck, man.
Yeah, well, whenever we're economically peril, it's all the harder actually to really get democracy going here too.
That too.
Overwhelmingly, money's gonna like sway what happens here, and I don't know, and that does lead to like some kind of like possible exploit, but I don't know what that would look like currently. I saw that us being in an economic peril situation just makes it.
And even just in micro, every little like the macro situation, which is kind of what you're talking about here, is it's possible. I think we'll see how this year develops, and I think as the year continues, the tide's gonna shift one way or another, and maybe for maybe in my position or not, or like maybe I'll move slightly one way or the other. You know what I mean? But in each micro situation, it's really going to come down to those individual communities deciding what is more likely to have a positive effect on their attendance, on their viability as like a fun, competitive, like integral, like whatever is going to make the most sense for them as an individual community, they'll probably do. And I think that's fine. That's kind of where Ultimate thrives, is the fact that it's almost like what do they call it? Like in the US government where where like every state has their own like individual governments. Federalism. There's like a very like federalism kind of vibe to Smash Ultimate that I do think works pretty well, just because it's like so much potential variability from region to region. Like small regions need to have the most people possible, whereas big regions like Texas or something have the ability to ban a character and still have 100+ people show up. But in the end, I do think I think we'll be okay. I think this will work out, mostly just because like that system hasn't failed us fully. And regardless, my copium is that I think the Smash Ultimate Director's Cut will come out. So
I'm gonna save. Okay, I have thoughts on Director's Cut, but I'm gonna save that for episode 2 because we're already running.
We're down the weeds on this.
On here. Let's go ahead and blast through, so we can move on to another thing here. We're already looking a little long on that. Any thoughts quickly on Wi-Fi versus offline, Steve? Anything noteworthy here? Now we've kind of covered the whole the ban itself here.
I mean, I would just say like online tournaments. If you want your tournament to survive, you should ban them. You should definitely make it fun again.
You have substance there? Okay, like so. Yeah. So are you saying that like Minecart is like literally worse to deal with on Wi-Fi?
Absolutely,
or like
absolutely.
Right here, what is the Wi-Fi exclusive cheese that you dread even dealing with?
Minecart. I mean, your intuition was spot on. It's unreactable offline. Online, yeah.
You gotta do respect it, right? You gotta like, don't even like.
There's no social pressure online to not cheese, to not abuse shit. So that's like another factor where it's like it incentivizes. Most of the people that play online tournaments have like the incentive of trying to make the $20 prize or whatever, or trying to farm as many like $20 prize pool tournaments as they can. And usually they'll do it in whatever means necessary. Wi-Fi meta in general is kind of polarized more than offline meta to begin with. Majority of the most cheesy, like obnoxious Wi-Fi players will never go to offline tournaments in the first place because they know that like not only could they potentially be countered, they're scared to like have to iterate on their play styles usually. I guess this is not a very objective argument, but my most objective argument I guess I can make is that I would highly doubt that banning Steve would hinder attendance in online tournaments more than it would help keep them alive. It makes them more entertaining to watch, certainly, almost without doubt. I mean, online tournaments are already like shit to begin with.
Yeah, let's be real. Yeah, they are.
But it is possible to have really fun and like pretty damn like solid online tournament experiences as someone who's played in like hundreds of them. But I would say the chances of that happening while Steve is legal is definitely hindered quite a bit. I don't really mind if you don't want to ban Steve in your online tournament, but it goes without saying it's virtually impossible to enforce any kind of tech ban online. So my personal recommendation to TOs would be to do it.
No, I agree.
And I think HBox is smart for that because like the coin box is a spectator event. Like it's a spectacle, like, and that
it's also free content. Like, being,
for the players and for
he's
HBox.
in a rare position where I thought it was actually genius on his end here. Cause like every TO's apprehensive to actually like be the catalyst to say that I'm banning the character,
so
right?
Good at this,
but
bro.
it's like, cause it's a, it's a streamer ran event. Hey, any attention's good attention in this case. This is all cloud chasing anyway. So fuck it.
Facts.
Yeah.
He's like
I'm going to announce whether or not I ban it. Then of course I ban it. So,
dude, as somebody who has like a very purist mentality, I will say HBox is like he rides the line so damn well that I can't help but respect the fuck out of him.
Yeah,
I can't. Like, dude, he's so consistently able to like find the silver lining between like the controversial decision, the most popular decision, the one that drives the most attention, the one that makes him look the best, and the one that like helps a community. That is insane. So shout out to HBox.
Definitely that. You know, whenever you're the face of throwing, you know, a $3,000 weekly, I mean, no one's going to really bat an eye at it being, you know, powered by crypto or powered by HBox at that point. You know, it's like,
true.
I mean, the sweats come out, man. You know, 3K stock.
And in his defense, he's never, I would say his level of engagement with anything that potentially would come off as like morally questionable is like, he's very consistently like taking like a higher road than he would if he was like an actual scumbag. That's at least my view. As
he also gets a lot of shit too, so it's like, you know, it's easy to be. I can be compassionate here because he has gotten, you know, whether it be the crab throw or the summit invitation / qualifying.
I mean, dude, it's been like 20 years of him getting shit on. Like the first time I ever even saw anything about competitive Smash was the Mango Reddit AMA. Where HBox.
Oh God!
Like people,
I actually have a reaction to that. I have like a
really
2012 YouTube upload of me like, yeah, because Mango, dude.
I remember I was like 13. I'm like, fuck HBox, dude, man.
That was pre esports Mango. That was pre Cloud9 Mango.
Dude, that was a different time, bro. That was the most I think that was one of the most downvoted comments in the history of Reddit for a long time. Somehow. I'm pretty sure that's true. I don't know. And then Mango just never talked about it ever again, never acknowledged it. Everybody forgot, and here we are. Anyways, moving on.
Last thing about Steve here. Japan unlikely to ban him is what I wrote down here.
Here we go.
I just don't see Steve as a high representation in Japan. I don't see unlikely to ban. I don't see, you know, Akola or Onin really, you know, they're top players, so I don't see them like. I just don't think I don't think I'm seeing the same like spectator vibes in North American audiences as I'm seeing in Japan there. So I don't think a ban in Japan would happen. But also this, you know, competitive Smash sustainability is a whole different beast though in Japan, right?
It is.
Like it's not really economic.
It's entirely reliant on salaries and sponsors. Like there's, I don't know for an absolute fact, but I'm 90% sure that there is still no prize pools in Japan in terms of money. But I do know that everybody and their mom that is good in Japan has a sponsor, and these sponsors have legit sponsors. And I highly doubt that these players are not living at least like the top 5 to 10 in Japan that aren't like actually just dedicated to whatever they do for a living outside of Smash. I'm pretty sure like a good majority of like the top players in Japan are making a living off the game, which same thing in North America, basically. Like to have a sponsor means to have a salary, which means you get to play the game for a living. Like, and that has been the case for a long, long time. And that kind of like escapes the public view in a way, because I don't think most people understand how esports like works in terms of salaries and sponsors and stuff like that in general. But yeah, like I'm pretty sure Akola like makes money from his sponsor. Like, I think they're chilling.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the Japan POV is like they're chilling.
But also, you know, we should do a deeper dive in this. On another episode, I actually would love to talk a lot.
I'd love to do some more research on that too. Yeah.
Because you know, the only person I even see really doing this justice is Larry. Larry Lur is like my eye in the sky on what's going on in Japan. Because without him, I don't keep enough attention to even like who's popular there. Like which I want to say Min Min's Twitch, like, way more popular than I thought. Like,
well, you know what's funny is that Min Min's actually way more hated in Japan than in North America. Like apparently that's their Steve. Yeah.
Ooh.
Like, especially in Wi-Fi, like COVID, before they had offline tournaments come back, like apparently it was toxic. Like,
dude, have you seen Pink Fresh's Min Min? Oh
dude,
my God.
Played against.
You've experienced it. Yeah, it's like
I've experienced worse.
This bitch got extending hit boxes that are not hurt boxes. How does that? Yeah, bitch gets half the stage for herself at no consequence.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And then the minute you're off ledge, it's like fucking World War III. Like,
For
I'd
you,
argue,
for them,
like,
there's literally zero risk. But
yeah, the few times I played Min Min, I'm like, okay, my best tool here is like self-inflict bomb. I'm holding bomb just to hope they don't react to it whenever it blows up because they're not gonna see that coming.
Right, but you better hope your self-inflict bomb doesn't put you into the angle of the spinny disc arm. That happened to me once. Like, I literally had the bomb in hand. I did everything right. And then my bomb, like, you know how it's kind of RNG if it blows you up right or left in the air?
Yeah.
Like, it literally RNG blew me up right into the Min Min arm, game 5. And that was back in my, like, peak of viewership and everything. I think I literally, I felt pain. IRL. Yeah.
Yeah,
God, you just reminded me Min Min
Wi-Fi
existed.
tournaments will do that to you, though. That is like...
Dude, offline, like, imagine you lose to a Min Min offline, and you're literally getting popped off on. Like, a whole fucking little click is jumping up and down, screaming. I had a guy literally screech, like, ear-piercing volume screech in my ears because he beat me for the first time using Min Min. And then, after I left the tournament, I found out that we played with underdog boost on. So, like... I think that was probably the number one catalyst that led to my break. But yeah, regardless. Jesus. Let's get off of this topic, man.
All right, moving on. Okay, no more Steve now. Where do you want to go from here? You still want to do Smash? You want to move on to like part 2 officially?
I think we can move on. Do you mind if I use the bathroom real quick? Yeah, let's just take like
intermission.
A little intermission here, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you all for tuning in through that argument, going down the rabbit hole with us, though, because that was interesting.
Welcome to part 2. That was a girthy part 1.
That was
all that Smash. Maybe hopefully we've won the audience over to stay for the non-Smash portion.
Hopefully.
God bless.
Regardless.
So what you want to I'm looking here. We got a plethora of topics here. Physical health, friendship updates. What have you been up to in the last 2 years? I don't know when we last spoke here, homie to homie here.
Yeah.
Mental health. Let's hop on the one here. I feel that'll take the most time, actually. Let's get the big one out the way here. Colonies, life update here. You got a girlfriend.
I did.
Uh-oh. You got the, dare they say, you have the gamer kryptonite. You got a GF.
Achievement unlocked.
That explains why you were gone for 6 months. That explains why you're inconsistent on streaming. That explains why you're happier than ever, and it's funny enough you're playing less games than ever as well here. Explain yourself here, sir.
Okay, well, we've been dating for a year and a couple months actually, which it flew by for sure, and we even live together now. But yeah, no. So I actually got hooked up on a sort of blind date situation. So one of my best friends and another like fellow like really like thriving Smash player right now, his name's Andrew T. He started dating like this girl that went to like his local tournaments like in his local area.
Wait, that actually happens? Oh my god. Yeah.
Dude, 2023 is crazy. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Anyways, basically like she and I became like kind of good friends. Like how it goes when you're like your closest homie gets a girlfriend, you become like homies too. And she decided to hook it up, and she was like, hey, I don't know if you think this girl's cute or whatever, but I kind of think that you guys should meet, and I was like okay, and she sent me a picture of her. I was like, okay, oh yeah, okay. And then she was like, yeah, she could come to this local with me on Friday. And like, you got to keep in mind, these girls they're not gamer girls, nor are they terminally online girls. They're in college. They know each other through a sorority. You know what I mean? So like,
right. So you're showing them a gamer ecosystem they're not familiar with at all.
Absolutely. Like we almost speak a different language.
Dare I say they're chronically offline?
Something like that.
Fair?
Yeah. Like as much as you can be in 2023. So she came to this local. Coincidentally, not such a coincidence, I'd say. She was extremely nervous. Obviously, I'm extremely nervous going to a tournament, let alone like all the circumstances. Obviously, were extremely like anxiety provoking. I feel really bad for her in general. To this day, she still is like traumatized by how nervous she was to go to this tournament, let alone meet this guy. She's already a pretty nervous person. You know what I mean? That was.
May I ask here, the tournament itself? What was the ratio? Was she the only girl there?
Besides the other girl, like Andrew's girlfriend, yes.
Goddamn. Okay, bad ratio. Yeah, that doesn't help, honestly.
Let alone the fact that it's in a small ass room in a college, and I also went 1-2, so like at that time, I think that was the worst performance of my entire career. She, it was kind of like, it was not a great first experience meeting each other, and for multiple reasons. But at the same time, I really got this sense that, like, first of all, if she's willing to do that, you know what I mean, in the first place, like just after like texting me for like a week or two, she was willing to put herself out there, and like I respected that a lot, because I know how difficult that can be to just go into a completely foreign environment, especially if that's not like your personality, you know, to be like a super just like fuck it kind of person. So I respect that a lot, and I tried really hard to make her know that, like, I'm not gonna judge you for being out of your element here. I don't have any expectations of you to act a certain way. You know, it's great to meet you. We can definitely meet again at another time. But just know that it's like, this isn't the make or break kind of moment for me. And I think that really went a long way for me in terms of like securing some sort of trust that I wasn't going to just be like an asshole, or that I wasn't going to be like very judgmental in that sort of way. And then she actually ended up going to the same local again the next week, which to me,
with you again?
Yeah. And I mean, she had such a miserable experience at the first one that I was like, damn, okay, so that's sick. You know, I was like, I respect that.
She chose to attend in her own accord, or you re-invited her?
She chose to attend on her own accord. So that was kind of cool. And
okay.
And then I show up, right? And it was just like a completely, like, it was a way better vibe, like right from the beginning. But unfortunately,
I know why too. If she came on her own accord, you no longer feel like you're having to represent the entirety of the community that you're there with. So there's way less pressure on you. Like, I felt like you were like 20 stories underneath the water. At that point.
Yeah, I felt like I had a lot of pressure, especially because at that point, that was like right after like a really long depressive episode, and like, you know,
like you're showing her like gamers offline. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It was a lot. And then like the second time, like this was actually the worst tournament of my entire career. I legitimately went 0-2 for the first and only time in my 8 years of competing. So that definitely, that was not easy to overcome in terms of like still wanting to like be, you know, the insecurities that come along with that. But the way she responded to that was like, it was genuinely felt like this could be something I really have never experienced before, where like somebody could actually value me completely outside of like my persona, my ego, what I'm good at. You know, like just somebody who saw me at my lowest, and to them, it was kind of like just a normal sort of, it wasn't like a dramatic thing. She didn't like walk on eggshells around me after that. She still wanted to talk. You know, I still went over to her house afterwards. We hung out and we got to actually talk one-on-one in a private environment, like get to know each other a lot better. And that was like a key moment for me for sure, where I was like, damn, like I just really never experienced nothing like that before. And I'm sure you can understand too, as a streamer, like it's almost like it's like everybody in your life knows you as Trihex to some degree. Like obviously your family like will always think of you as like Michael first or whatever, right? Like obviously like you're close friends for a long time, but they're all like integrated into this like persona in a way. They'll ask you
almost
about
like
it.
You never knew Pop-Tarts had filling. Like you've been Sasuke you've only been Sasuke that it took someone else to show you that the Pop-Tart does have a gooey center. You know, you've been so desensitized.
You've seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, right?
I actually have not. I have not. I know. I'm cringe. I'm bad. It's on our to watch list. Venom has been roasting me about it. Trust me, I'm aware here.
Okay. You know, it is cringe, sure, but you know what my mind goes to first is like, damn, I'm jealous of you, man. That's incredible. You get to experience that for the first time. Like, I know people say that a lot about things that you haven't seen and shit, because they do the same thing to me, but like genuinely, that one, I feel that. regardless,
I've watched a lot of things. Okay, I've watched a lot.
I know. I'm sure you have.
I can Uno card you
Of
on
course.
Anime X, right? So we're not going to get there. We're not going to get there. It's episode 3.
Personally,
Anime backlog hell.
Okay, that's fair. But Avatar: Last Airbender, one of the greatest. Okay, anyways,
one of the goats. I agree.
So
I hear.
After that, we kind of like we got to the point where it was like we didn't need to interact first through like a third party or like anything like that. Like she was comfortable enough around me and I was comfortable enough around her that we just were able to connect on that deeper level. Like, you know how it goes when the spark is lit, man. It's like you're trying to hang out as much as possible. Every conversation's a deep, long talk.
Oh yeah, you're aiming for a quick hour combo, becomes a 4-hour combo. You're not even trying. You don't even plan on doing the big phone call. The big phone call.
Yeah, suddenly your free will is obviously not under your control anymore. Like you're head over heels.
Yeah. Like, dude, I was there, dude. When I was in the honeymoon phase, hardcore. Yeah, streaming was like the afterthought. I'm like, I guess I'll stream today. Maybe, me going live like at 8:30 after being them already like, I don't know, rode bikes in the park and some uwu couple shit. Like, just like, yeah, I don't know. It was just like, I wanted to just hang out all the time. It was crazy.
And, I'm like very susceptible to having like a black pill sort of outlook on things. Like I try super hard to negate my doomer nature in the environment I grew up in, where it's sort of like the system's out to get you and like everything, blah, blah, blah. You'll never be the best, all this kind of shit, right? Like I always, like being a fat kid growing up in school and shit like that, like the rejection, the amount of rejection I faced in my life made this experience feel, and I had done like enough personal work because I had a relationship before. This is her first relationship and I had one before. So that was like, it really brought like this sense of like purity back into my life. Like this kind of just innocent joy of getting to see somebody like go through the motions for the first time of like all the highs and lows of a new love, while also getting to like experience it from myself, but have a very accessible, like detached view of, how do I say it? It's like I've reduced my ego enough, but more importantly, stepped away from my ego enough to realize how natural it is to like go through the motions in a new relationship. And I think that is sort of where she found a lot of comfort in that part of me. Cause I don't think she had ever met anybody that was like mindful of how the emotions can affect your judgment in a situation, or how I just converse with people, or like how I judge people in a certain way, or like how I like am able to look at things from another perspective. I think that was really interesting to her.
The offline versus the online in a way here.
Sort of, yeah.
I feel like there's a very simple way to put this though. Ultimately, for you and many others who are in your situation pre-girlfriend, not saying that girlfriend was the catalyst that would automatically solve this for everyone here, but
true.
Your emotional needs weren't being met.
No, hell no.
A question that, okay, we're gonna get this like maybe on another episode here, but like when I started attending therapy as of like an actual therapist as of like November 2021, game changer. Holy,
congrats on that. Yeah,
that it took me years to build up to finally doing that.
I understand that. Yeah,
and I was prepared for most things here. Right? I knew I had like daddy issues, parents divorce, 10 years of streaming.
You were very cognizant of all your shortcomings. Yes.
Yeah, very aware of what I wanted. I had like a laundry list ready to roll on things I wanted to work on.
Woke cage. Yeah.
The one question she got me that like fucked me up. I had no prepared answer, no prepared like distractionary retort. She asked me, Michael, what are your emotional needs? And I was like,
wow, that's an amazing question.
The fuck do you mean? Wait, what do you mean? She's like, it's not your question. I'm just asking you, what do you think are your emotional needs right now, and are they being met? And I was like, damn, bitch, I don't even know what that even means.
But it spoke to you.
You said words, but I don't know what that means. So I'll go back to you. No, so that I'll do my whole thing on that segment another episode. But like that's you cute. Right there was like when you were with her versus before her. It's like clearly I would argue your emotional needs were synthetically being met through Smash. Like Smash was giving you the ego fulfillment, but also like some like I don't know, there was a lot of shit, like a lot of other things that are artificially like giving you like a 5% feeling of what you felt with her, and you were chasing that over and over again, which is why the
and to add on to that, even like because you are right, but I was also at the point where I had become aware of how like I had become keenly aware of how inconsistent, not only inconsistent, but like how like much of a dark path that is. Like I had started to experience the lows that come after like the high of having all my needs artificially fulfilled by like streaming and Smash. I had entered into that period where like I became for the first time like aware that this can't supplement a real life. And so that was like, and I had lived that reality for like a year probably of
I see. Yeah, it was almost like
the dark
night. Doing cocaine, right? It was like it was like doing cocaine, where like you get artificial dopamine and serotonin release, and you have to come back to normie land. You're like, well, I want to live in my Smash fantasy because reality here sucks ass. This is like,
and then you realize
it's too good.
But I had even gotten to this point where I'm like, I had become aware of why I felt the need to supplement reality in the first place. And that was like a really hard place for me to go because, I had a rough childhood in a lot of ways. And we can get into that in another episode for sure, because I'm interested about, from what I heard from your Dr. K talk, like, more of your school experiences and stuff like that. And like struggles with living in the in the world that was not okay with what we do and what we like. You know what I mean? So like just from that, you develop the mask, right? Like you have to like hide who you are in social interaction that isn't extremely like clearly going to be okay with you, and then going into the like getting that burst of acceptance and positivity and everyone telling you you're the shit for the first time in my life. Like I really had gotten that affirmation. I had done work to get to that point. I had done work in a lot of different ways. I made myself look better. I made myself speak. I became smarter. I became like, and all in a very like self-taught manner as well. So there was just so many like roads that logically led to me feeling like I had escaped suffering for a long time. I had like outsmarted life.
Would you say that you enjoyed the process of the progress of improving?
Absolutely.
Like it wasn't like it wasn't the guilt-fueled burden of like, oh, I need to improve or else I'm going to be miserable, right? It's like, no, I'm actually enjoying the journey.
That was the pleasant surprise, right? Because as for most people, it definitely starts. For me, it started like I remember looking in the mirror one day. I never will forget this day. I was probably about 16, 17. And I was like, it's like, damn, I feel like if I just wasn't like hefty, that my life could be great. Like this could potentially solve a majority of my problems. And, I did it.
Pertaining to losing weight, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And and that was enough to get me going in the right direction. And then what I found was like what sustains that self-improvement drive when I first got that flame lit was like how much I enjoyed learning about all of these things that nobody really was talking about. Like how much I enjoyed learning about the biology and the biochemistry behind diet, and how much I learned about every little aspect, and going
all
down
the shroud being removed now. You're like, that's why that happened.
Just got that dopamine hit. You know what I mean? Like, damn, man, there's a whole world out here in this internet place that I get to like, that I know other people aren't putting their time into learning, that is going to make me better. That was like the first time I got that sort of high. That lasted a very long time, of course, but then I also...
We're kind of segueing now into physical health.
We are.
We've only...
I'm doing the thing. I said I wasn't going to do this. Okay.
I'm trying to think of like, do we just like do we let it go? Like, and just say episode 2 will come back?
We'll let it go.
Well, we let it go. Okay,
I guess what I'm trying to say here is that...
So, you're right, and this is fair. I think, honestly, just origin story of the GF is a great start, and we can go from there, because there's plenty more we can go into, because like this would be its own episode if we just like even try to like pretend to even tackle.
All right, how about this? I'll give you a GF relevant, like something that I know you can relate to, and that might be interesting.
Sure.
So she got completely exposed to this. So when she met me, I was pretty much off the grid, right? Like I was going to tournaments here and there, and I was still involved in the Smash community, but I wasn't streaming. My mind was just not anywhere near ready to like go back into like to trying to like have an ego that I felt was presentable enough to stream and to have a part of me that I was willing to like show the world, because I was just so like I was deep in the learning who I really was kind of stage of my life and how I wanted to proceed in the future. I was trying to be very, very careful with my next move, basically. And so this is really interesting, but like I find it really adorable, 1, 2, fascinating, and 3, extremely frightening, having her now become like introduced to this part of me. You know what I mean? Like having the stream grinds be a part of our daily life now that we live together as well. Mm-hmm. I find it something that is, it's endearing, man. Like it's really interesting. It makes me kind of love it again. You? It does scare me in a way because, well, I've known this about her from the moment I met her. It was like she values her privacy more than most people do in this day and age. Obviously, she's not like super, that's not like an adamant point. I don't even think she would agree with that necessarily, but I know that she isn't ready to just like full send into like being on my stream every day, or like even like being on camera makes her nervous in front of my viewers, or like talking into the mic, like she's shy and stuff like that, you know? And what I really found interesting about this was I could not force her to understand. I could not just sit her down and have an 8-hour talk about this is everything you need to know about the Twitch culture. And this is why I spend most of my Saturdays watching Call of Duty tournaments, and why I scream when Optics got retired, and why, you know, all these like different things. This is why people on Twitter are talking about Steve today, and like all these little things, right?
Yeah, you got everything requires such insane paywall of context.
It does. The context is the key like word there. Like there's so much context, like the context about the situation. Here's why I care. Here's what it reminds me of. This is where I learned this, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. If you can even, and then even if you tell her verbatim the situation and then verbatim how you feel the situation, still got to find an applicable analogy to help her make sense of why
which
you feel
may not even
what
exist
you feel,
in there,
which may not even exist. Yeah, because like you have to figure out where your Venn diagram is of like, you know,
yeah,
how many times can you pull from like Mean Girls to like make up a situation? Okay. That was
it's that not that far off. It's not.
I don't know what it's like to have like the you know, I don't know.
No, it's facts. That's 100%.
I don't know
true.
what you're pulling from for your analogy, but I don't know. I'm thinking like, you know, girls, they be on Netflix and hot Cheetos and whatnot. So,
and it's the same thing for them. It's like, and what I learned about this that was so interesting was that like it's something that we really can kind of share in a way. Is like her. I get to observe, right? How much do you really give a fuck about whatever this shit is? Do you really care about like? Do you really want me to explain to you this entire context, 8-hour paywall of context? Or do you just want to move on? Like, do you really care about like, do you care that I'm going to stream because it makes me happy and it helps me progress to a future that I'm happy to like be in? Or do you like care more about like the philosophy of why today I'm going to stream versus tomorrow? You know, it kind of like helps me zone in a lot on.
Yeah, it cuts the fluff of formality because the paywall is so steep.
And as somebody who's like avoidance has always been, you know, before I was even conscious of it, like avoidance was my go-to. That's just how I grew up. That's how my family copes with shit. You know, that's just the world I live in. It's very, very enlightening and like fun to be transparently avoidant while also like having some form of accountability, like that can't get logicked away by like just digressing into something completely like when I lived with roommates, right? I could start a conversation with like, I'm not feeling like streaming today. Okay, why aren't you feeling like streaming today? Oh, because Twitter is being annoying and I'm scared that like my chat's going to be talking about whatever is annoying me on Twitter. Okay, well then now let's talk for 6 hours about what Twitter is being annoying about, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Whereas like with her, it's like, it's more so just this like daily kind of like living life together. And like,
yeah, do you even want to talk? Like, is this even important? Like, it almost makes you feel like, okay, this is just like, it's words on a monitor and I can let it contaminate our day or it can contaminate my day, or I can choose to have it not contaminate either of our days. I don't even have to even bring the shit up, honestly.
Yeah.
You know?
And like the more and more like you kind of iterate on that process.
She's your perpetual escape button. You know, I can get offline. I can get off the online state and become offline.
It's like a reality check. It's like a constant reality check. Like, cause in the beginning of our relationship, a lot of times I would get frustrated. Like why don't you care more about this? You're not understanding why this is so interesting. If only you could like have the shared experiences that I had at this time in my life, you'd understand why I care about blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like it was a lot of like kind of not being able to comprehend why you are different than me. And the more and more we've like progressed in our relationship, the more and more I realize is that like she actually just likes to be around me, and to the monotony of daily life can actually become like fascinating as the Twitter drama.
Yeah. No, I think that's dope actually, you know? I imagine, okay, I'm thinking hypothetically if I was you, right? If there's like a slight shit post here, but like if I'm you, it's like, okay, what did she last watch on Netflix? You're just gonna go, you know, not that you're snooping, it's like, okay, what does she find interesting? What did she finish watching versus what she started watching versus what she never watched at all here? What's on her recommended? You know, you go through a profile, an apartment, whatever here, you're seeing, you know, just you know, whatever, right? It's just like these little small things where you're getting into her world.
And you know what's interesting though is because she doesn't
like,
have that escape, man. She doesn't do that. It's so weird. It's like she doesn't like she doesn't get hype about the newest TV series that she's excited. It's like yeah, so you see how that's tricky, right?
So the passion levels are like almost like she has no creative outlet, you would say, like no like passionate creative outlet in parallel to what you have.
She hasn't necessarily found it, I guess, is kind of what I'm saying. Or like she doesn't have like a thing that I could love bomb by learning all about it and engaging in that sort of, which I actually
no series fandom. Like she's not like a super Harry Potter fan or a Game of Thrones fan or
okay,
like.
All right, fair enough. As I look over and I see the Hunger Games collection on my no, so like she does like have her things, but more so she's interested in people, which I mean in general that's I think rather common, like on a very basis of personality, like in a general sense, it seems to me like men are more likely to be interested in things, and whereas women are more likely to be interested in people and social kind of shit. At least like their escapism is more so into like people rather than like things. So just in that very like narrow context, it really has taught me, it's reintroduced me into like learning how to engage with people that aren't looking to go down the rabbit hole. And that's something that I thought I could never do, you know? Like it's been empowering, honestly, because it's like
I think what's happening now is you're more in the moment and you're not bringing like the shit that's like not in the moment. Like you're like even though we're away from Smash, you're bringing in all the Smash and the Twitter and all the online
it's like
shit
cutting the wheat from the chaff moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're actually existing in the offline, in the anti-matrix, one could say here actually.
And it just helps me too when somebody isn't like so engaged in the same kind of shit that I'm engaged in, to realize when it's my emotions that are making me like have a certain view on something. Like let's say something on Twitter makes me angry, right? Okay, well, is that really making me that angry, or is it more so that I'm just angry and I'm looking for something to justify it? Like, is it more so that I'm like upset that this guy is higher than me on the rankings, or is it more that I'm upset at my lack of follow through on my goal? And like just little shit like that, because like she will care a lot about my feelings towards my my goals or my kind of aspirations or the things that I'm interested in, but she won't necessarily get that same drive to like go deep into like the context or the background or, you know, like the iceberg, you know what I mean? She's not down to go to level 8 of the iceberg necessarily on everything, but she is down to help me understand why it's even a thing in the first place.
Yeah, and I think it'll be more obvious to you as more and more of your emotional needs are met, and you're able to, because like it's kind of like if you're so busy having your shield up and in fight or flight mode that you've never, it's all monogamous to you, and you kind of you're not even aware of when your shield's up and whatnot. This happened with me and Vim, for example, where I was like, I kind of caught on that, like, because I'm online so often with streaming and whatnot here, if I say a fact, there's like this tendency, right, where like in conversation we'll casually do a slight exaggeration for dramatic effect or for like a compassion or like a engagement in the combo, right? And this habit we all do. It's all like it's an autonomous thing here, but like because I stream online so often, I've been trained to never do this or minimize it considerably because, you know, everyone's watching me, can just Google what I said here.
Yeah.
Oh, really, Trihex? See, I can't think of an example right now, but
we're all fact-check dandies and fucking...
Yeah, they hit me with that, right? And so whenever I would see Venom do this offline, I'd be like, well, hang on, wait, you can't get away with that because I can't get away with this here. So I would just fact-check her offline as if we're online.
Yeah,
and
as if it matters at all.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Right.
But I've been, you know, so terminally online with streaming and whatnot.
It does to certain people, though. That's,
Yeah, my brain was permanently ruptured, and I had to, like, I had to get called out on that, honestly.
It's not even a rupture, necessarily. I get why you say that, because it does cause a lot of negative emotion when you realize that you're fact-checking your girlfriend, right? But...
it's
almost like...
I have an example. Okay, I actually have an example to bring all together, because I feel like if we say in hypotheticals, it's kind of, it can get a little bit lost to people.
Sure.
The actual example would be, Venom said, if we had, I want to get house decorations for Christmas. I want to have like lights on the roof and whatnot. She said that like, I don't know, like December 2019 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
2020 comes around. She said it again. Man, if only we got lights, I would so do them. Like, you said that last year and you didn't do it then.
No.
That is like me saying I'm going to play Beautiful Joe 1 as a sub goal. Sub goal was met and you didn't do it. It is next Christmas and you have not done it yet.
Oh my God.
You haven't even tried to do it here. So like, why are you bringing this up again here? Like,
dude, I do that almost every day. Almost every fucking day.
It's a bad habit. Don't do that. It's a bad habit.
I try not to, man. It's so funny.
It's like, because in reality, what they're doing is they don't have the shield up chronically to like
have that level of self-awareness. Like,
yeah. So it's like they're like in La La Land, and they're probably happier because of it. Whereas me and you are chronically like depressed over like the monotony.
Meanwhile, my
like,
chat would put the recycle emoji every time I told the same story twice or like whatever. That's the one I do to her a lot, man. Whenever she tells me a story more than once, I can't. I'm getting better. But I see the recycle emoji in my head. Like, I want to put Omega Lol in the chat. Like, you know what I mean? It's I get what you mean.
Say boomer clap. Poor streamer forgot to tell the story already here. Hello.
Yeah, like I'm like, oh, haven't you realized like our meta has advanced past this? Like we got a new update like in 2019. A new emote came out in the chat that made that not socially acceptable anymore to do.
But you're her first significant other, so she's learning the ropes. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm learning how to like let people be.
Yeah, you can let it bother you.
And you know what that really kind of translates to, like in my daily life, is like I'm learning how to let my imperfections be in a way that actually comes from like love instead of avoidance. Like there's times like recently where I'll be like, damn man, like I know like I was so motivated yesterday to do this thing, and then I kind of like segued that into, okay, if I feel motivated to grow my stream again, then I have to go live tomorrow. And like, let's say the next day comes and I'm like feeling like shit. And I'll be like, all right, well, I'm having this performance anxiety. Like, let me see if this is something that's like very surface level that could be like easily dismissed with like a little bit of thinking about why I'm feeling this way. Or if this is something that like is actually going to like play into the insecurity if I just push through it. You know what I mean? I guess that's a little abstract.
Well, what I feel there is it's like it's the hardest part is not being live. The hardest part is hitting the go live button.
Absolutely.
That's what I would say. I don't know if that's like comparable here or not, but I feel that if that's
so yeah. So on some days, on the days where it's not just hitting the go live button is hard, but on the days where it would actually be very difficult to be live, like those days, I find myself actually like a lot more compassionate to myself, where it's almost like.
You mean as in like the day where you struggle to get live, but you went live anyway, you're like easier on yourself mentally?
A lot
once
easier.
You're there?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel that for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can understand this too. Like growing up on Twitch or like literally finding so much of your personality being based in like being a streamer, it's the best and worst thing about you that you are willing to push yourself. You know what I mean? Like being a streamer requires an immense amount of like self-determination. Mm-hmm. And like it's almost when you burn that fuel like in a way that isn't going to create more the next day. Like if you kind of like are burning yourself the candle at both ends,
you're
or whatever,
depleting more fuel than you're able to resupply.
It's gonna make every day from there on forward harder. And this is pretty obvious to viewers, I think, because I've noticed that in my own chat. Like they are usually more compassionate. Obviously, there's some people that, or like if you don't give them enough context, maybe they don't understand, or it requires some level of vulnerability from you that you may or may not be willing to give. But like when you do actually open up to the viewers about why you're not feeling it that day, most of the time they're actually pretty quick to give you like a response that you in your own mind are like, yeah, I guess that's pretty obvious to you guys, huh? Like it would make the stream.
Yeah, I always found that transparency to your audience will usually the compassion.
It will. But I also found that...
I mean, there's boundaries obviously here too, but like...
Dude, the boundaries did not make sense to me before, though. I don't know if you remember this from when we would talk before, but it was almost like I took so much... I mixed my pride with my transparency to a level where it was like I was sacrificing a part of myself constantly, that I was just never going to be anything but super transparent. So I could never really have a private life, or I could never really have thoughts that weren't filtered through like, is this going to be acceptable to
you're on performance mode.
Permanent.
And that eats into the RAM or even the emotional battery, one could argue here.
Dude, it makes you stupid.
And the problem there is when you're on performance mode and your social battery is being depleted here, it's also shrouding the battery. You don't even know when you're at zero. So you don't even know what burnout feels like emotionally.
Yes.
And you could be running on empty for fucking days.
Or how about this? And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but you could actually just be gaslighting yourself to thinking you are burnout. Because if you never know anything but performance mode and then burnout, it's like every day that you don't want to stream feels like you might be burnout. And it's like, that can create a whole new level of like draining. That could drain you even harder than if you just were like, today I don't want to stream. Today I want to watch fucking YouTube videos and sit in the training mode for 6 hours and move around or something. Today I want to lay in bed with my girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. Today I want to scroll Twitter endlessly, doom scroll, fuck it. You know, I've never ever had the ability to do that kind of stuff without it being immensely like self-shameful. Like a lot of...
I feel this, and I think if I may here, the way I feel that was it took me so long, probably years, to finally conclude here. A parallel hill, right? You so badly, hypothetically, I'm pretending I'm you. I'm Colonies. I want to fucking get first. I want to do a 10 online tournament win streak here. I want to win 10 tournaments, right? Like that's 10 big moments on my stream that pop off and whatnot.
Yep.
And once I do these 10, my view count will triple guaranteed. I want the accomplishment and feat in gaming to automatically output as proportional increases in my sustainability as a streamer.
There's so many.
And the reality is that it doesn't happen that way. It's trends over time. It's a continuous grind, and it's like you can't be like the freaking no life gamer Andy that like goes no cam no mic focus mode and wins 10 tournaments and have it automatically be they love Colonies. No, they love the Colonies gameplay, but do they like Colonies? What it took to get there is not what's growing your stream or even you. It needs to be the balance. The hard mode is the balance. It has to be that they come to Colonies for the compassion, the empathy, the real talk, the Twitter, whatever the fuck here. Some smash and whatnot, but it's got to be the whole package here. You got to make peace with getting like 2 to 3 tournament wins and bouncing the other part and still maintain the grind.
You really have to make peace with every day not being better than like the day before, not being as exciting, not being as stimulating, chat not being as excited every time you do something good in the game, chat not being as responsive every time you open up.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's really,
it's got to be for you.
It does. And that sometimes requires you to actually like change how you view your actions. Like in order for me to like be interesting, I have to be interested in what I'm thinking without any external need to like project it to somebody else. And I think that's one of the biggest things I learned from my relationship is like, because when you're with somebody every day, like they don't need to hear all of your thoughts to see what you're thinking. Like a lot of times, like your actions tell the story when you're around people every day, like especially somebody, because like the bros aren't gonna like analyze. They're not like the same level of like looking at you all the time, looking at like, oh, they don't care if I showered today, they don't care if I fucking what I eat, they just, you know what I mean, like they're not like picking up on the subtle cues that I might not, or maybe I am in a good mood, or if I'm not in a good mood or whatever. They're just kind of like living their life and you're just parallel living together. Whereas like when somebody actually like loves you in that sort of relationship way, it's like a mirror. How you treat them is sort of how you're treating yourself. And it really, or you might be doing the opposite, where it's like you give them everything, you give yourself nothing, or you give yourself everything and give them nothing, blah, blah, blah. But you can actually get really interesting feedback that doesn't necessarily have to be like filtered through this lens of like being vulnerable to the public, being transparent at all times.
You don't have to be the main character.
You don't. That's a great way to say it. Some days you actually can just be like supporting characters to each other.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
not every day has to be the Colony show.
I guess, understanding that conceptually, like really what I'm trying to say and relate this to the relationship thing is like understanding that conceptually is easy if you're like emotionally intelligent to a certain degree, right? I'm sure I would have agreed with this on a principle level before, like, and genuinely convinced myself that I understand it, but it requires practice. Like it requires iterating.
You can watch 100 hours of Tony Hawk teaching you skateboarding, but until you hop on a skateboard, you don't know what your skill is.
Exactly, bro. You can watch 100 hours of relationship advice on YouTube. Mm-hmm. You could watch 100 hours of self-help content. You could read books. You can do all this shit. But the number one thing you learn when you're a self-help junkie is that like there's so much you don't know about yourself until you're in those moments, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So much you can thrive at that you
I
have
would say
no
if
idea.
you're a self-help junkie and you don't actually get in the field, you're practically a delusional astrology major, you know? You're just, rather than the labels be like, you're a Leo and I'm a Cancer, it's just like, you're just using the buzzwords of the self-help shit to figure out, to put labels on the positive spin of how you perceive yourself.
And you know what's hard about that? It's like, damn, do I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like straight up, man. Yeah. Like, I mean, and this is what I also find interesting about being in a relationship too, is like, it allows me to become a lot less aware necessarily of every little thing wrong in the world, and just a little bit more aware of how I could talk to somebody a little bit nicer, or how I could like carry myself to like provoke more confidence in the people around me, or like how I could engage with what they say in a way that's more likely to produce like an exciting thought for them. Or something like that. How I could talk to you about your show that you're excited for that I don't give a fuck about, in a way that it makes me excited about a show that you don't give a fuck about.
Exactly.
We don't have to. And I think one piece of advice for people in the chat listening to this is don't necessarily write people off as friends or potential people to be in a relationship with just because you don't have things in common, like in terms of like shows, movies, games, music, blah, blah, blah. Because
she has to be a cutie gamer girl, bro. What you mean, dude?
And even beyond the cringe aspects of that, it's really hard to know until you're in that moment. But like, man, you can be a fucking dickhead to people that don't like the same things you like. At least I could be. And I know a lot. Like, it's so easy to be nice to somebody that already likes the same shit you like. But it'll make you a very like self-aware and compassionate person to start to be nice to people that are completely different than you.
Yeah, she's a 9, but she plays League of Legends. You want your gamer girlfriend, there you go, right? Or she's a 9, but she fucks heavy with Farmville, like heavy. Like,
and you know what, man?
On that shit 4 hours a day, bro.
And you know what, man? I learned that you don't have to download Farmville and also go into Farmville to be okay with her fucking heavy with Farmville. That's all right.
Yeah. You get tested on your gangster there. It's like, are you ready? Are you ready to actually objectively judge what you don't understand? Clearly you don't fuck with Farmville.
Are you ready to accept that you aren't objective in the way that you judge people, and that you're not as likely to be the nice guy as you might think you are, and you're also not ready to understand the world from somebody else's lens as you might think you are? It's like I've heard this. I heard this from somebody, and I think it's really interesting. Is like when you get into a new relationship, the effects it has on your ego are so profound that like it genuinely can be like sort of like a world shattering perspective flip that like changes people. And it's probably why people always say that their friends change when they got into a new relationship or stuff like that, or streamers change when they start dating X person, blah blah blah. It's just like it's a level of trying to care about someone else as much as you care about yourself, that our world not only doesn't promote necessarily, but also actively like fights against. I mean, if you have problems early on in a relationship, how much easy dopamine and clout do you get for like bashing that person in a r/relationship advice post? How easy is it to tell?
Oh, dude. Oh my God. Would you actually go to relationship advice Reddit?
Fuck no, but I kind of want to just for content.
Man. Yeah, it is content. I was going to say, honestly, I've been there.
But dude, I guess I would have. I did when I was younger, man.
Honestly, because I'm like, how much is this fake? I don't fucking know, dude. It's just like,
you know what's funny? You guys always say that shit about r/relationship advice. I've just heard multiple streamers say that, okay? But I am so I blindly trust so hard, man, that my mind never even goes there, dude.
Bro, I'm too cynical now, man. Because like I want to believe the text logs on anti-work, but like, god damn, dude, it takes you can just text your iCloud account and you can have a one-sided combo with one phone, no text skill, and farm that shit hardcore, dude. So it's like,
I think I'm just so adverse naturally to anything superficial. Like,
well, because I get fact checked on it here. So the whole thing is right. You want to
that's actually a good point.
Make content,
yeah.
But for it to have value for me as a streamer, I need to like fact check it, or I'm look at this fucking thing happening on r/relationship advice, and it's like, did that really happen? If it's only like a throwaway Reddit account saying that blah 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 blah. Okay, where are the receipts?
I guess I have the perspective of the poster, man. As somebody that's been posting online like since I was 9 years old, like my innate perspective is to no, and I'm not saying you're wrong at all. I'm just saying like this is like
I have stories, bro. Like I got this is like some off the grid offline shit. I don't know if I can't even like allude to what I know about who I know about what I know. But you're saying that you're like, oh, I'm little Billy and I'm so pure. I started on the Neopets forum when I was 9 years old, and no one would ever spend 10 years to build a parasocial relationship to be able to sabotage. No, they would. Yes,
I know, and that's oh my god, man, and that's the scary part. Here is that
ultimately, you can heed the warning, but ultimately the lesson you'll have to learn the lesson.
Okay, all right. And this actually brings it full circle.
Touch
almost
fire and feel the burn. I would say.
So to bring that full circle, man, it's like so that's how naive I am, right? Is that I actually will look at Reddit and not even imagine that people are lying, or Twitch chat or streamers when they tell stories and shit like that, right? But imagine somebody that doesn't even have as much exposure as I have, like that has never had a toxic engagement on the internet. They've only just been the person looking at the comments, they've never even commented. Like imagine like that level of engagement and naive sounds kind of mean, but like how naive that would make somebody's perspective on a lot of things on the internet. And that's something that that's my version of the Christmas lights, right? Is my girlfriend she'll like say like, oh, there's this new Kool-Aid seltzer coming out or whatever. I'm like, all right, babe, well, who's posting that? She's like, I don't know. And then I'm like, all right, well, what's the name of the account? And it's like, oh yeah, this is probably not real. And then like I'm like, yeah,
wow,
like
no, listen. If you ever use the word naive on her, you also say here, oh, I'm envious of that. I'm envious. I am
genuinely, which helps.
Yeah, like no, genuinely, because like I wish I still had that Christmas morning glow.
And that's what makes it scary to induce this like level of awareness onto her, if that makes sense. Because I noticed the energy of like she was willing to go down the rabbit hole with me to a certain extent, right? Like almost like naively aware or naively willing to like kind of like let me influence her. And I was keenly aware that could have unexpected consequences to her enjoyment of the things that she likes.
Yeah.
When she tells me she likes it, she doesn't actually like this, but like imagine like, you know, let's say she likes Marvel, right? She loves Spider-Man or something like that. And then I'm like, all right, but don't you know that like, okay, you like Spider-Man? Well, let me show you this amazing film, you know, not even movie, film about the same kind of deep concepts that underlie Spider-Man, but it's actually more realistic and gives you a more, it's better written and it's artistic and the cinematography is more respectable and blah, 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 right? And then like, she might not enjoy Spider-Man after that because that's what happened to me. I went to the IMDb top 100 movies and shows and went down the list or whatever. And then I could never watch anything that was like kind of shit ever again. You know, like, and I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm starting to find this balance where I'm not necessarily censoring myself, right? Where I'm not like hiding the fact that I don't find the same surface level things interesting that she might anymore. But I'm also like willing to let it be to gain something from a conversation that I would judge as surface level, to like find it insightful in some ways. Sometimes not, sometimes I really do. And to really like take something away from each interaction that I would have judged as not worth my time before, that's actually very like meaningful to me and creates like a closer bond with someone and is from the place of love instead of necessarily from the place of value. That's kind of like the overarching like thing on this is I'm really learning how to love.
Yeah, no, that's actually amazing.
Thank you, man.
Because I'm remembering like the shit I went through. But it's funny because some of what you're saying is familiar, but also some of it is foreign because, well, one, Venom was a gamer organically on her own accord beforehand. So she had already deal with, you know, she didn't have the fra la la naivety because she was, you know, she was
girl on the internet,
girl in a man space of gaming. So she had to deal with, you know, like,
that too.
Okay, you're carried and, you know, blah, 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 blah. And then when we were together, and she didn't even tell me this until a year after we were together, she was like, yeah, I used to get DMs from some really racist people. They would say, why are you dating that monkey? And you're betraying your race and, you know, N-word this and that. And just like, she didn't even show it to me because she was like, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable about that. And
How did that make you feel? How did that make you feel? I'm really curious.
Maybe, you know, it's weird because she told me it like long after it was already done. Never actually showed me them. She said she already deleted all of it. She didn't want any evidence of all that here. And it felt, I guess, like bitter because
it's like an old.
Because I don't. It doesn't get me tight. It's more like I wish the fucking cowards would never say it to my face. They would never say it in my DMs. I never got any of that.
And you're so like deeply in like that's a very mature position that comes from experience, right? It's like you are so aware that these people are literally like cowards. So like, how do you?
Well, it's funny because what you're asking here about that is like, because it's the same thing with they you know, they call me like N-word hard R or N-word A word, right? Like these things, I'm very aware that you're trying to jab me in a personal manner and you're using the most surface level, superficial trait you can see. I'm black with an afro to get at me. You have nothing of substance. You can't shit on my taste on like anime or gaming or the way I speak. You have no ad homs to use.
You can't hurt me, basically.
I'm using, you know, superior dialogue options outside your vocabulary. I'm more verbose than you are.
Just say it. Yours. I'm smarter than you. Just say it. It's true.
Yeah, but if I say it, you know,
I know how it sounds, but like I'm trying to get into like knowing that they are like lesser than you in a way that is filtered extremely hard through a lot of like, you know, putting yourself under the microscope. What feeling does that leave you with?
I pity them. when it's all said and done, I pity them. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're so insecure, you have to project some artificial tool to inflict.
All right, you ready for the real doomer question?
Whatever here on me. So, when I look at her, they're mad she's taken by me, and also when they're trying to hit me, they're mad that I'm presenting as like, I guess, like a very decent black guy.
Yeah.
Or decent for a black guy. I don't know. I don't know where their prejudices.
Who knows? It could be like so many different.
It is a learned behavior
things.
though. So it could be their parents, could be their environment. I don't fucking know here. I don't think you get racist in a vacuum, honestly. So who the fuck am I to know here? But what's your
so all right. So with all these things considered, how does it make you feel when you see how she responds by hiding it from you? Not in a sketchy way, right? But like, because this is something I struggled with a lot. Is like, I felt like it was like, you can't stop it from happening, right? You can't actually shield it, and you don't need to be shielded. So to me, it's almost like it's like a very like heartbreaking thing. It's like you are now having to see like the consequences of just me existing. Like, this space is not filled by all compassionate, rational thinking, nice people who have an open minds. Well, how do we like
how do I feel about that?
Yeah,
you just gotta bridge this further here, because I think the thing you're stuck on right there with the way you're presenting it to me is that like mischievous douchebags only exist online, and they very much exist offline too. So don't separate and make it.
Well, that one I don't even know how to feel, because I grew up in a fucking 99.9% white town.
So,
and yeah, go ahead.
Douchebags, mischievous people, haters, assholes, they exist offline and online. Just that the surface level ones are more prevalent online. That's true. I think a great way to bridge here is like bring up the conversation of, okay, hey, listen, I love you, I value the most. Let's talk about protocols and safety, as an example, right?
Yeah.
And this is where, like, me and her have our share location on our phones. That way, not for any kind of like awkward reason, but rather like in case you answer the phone and I don't know where you are, I can check your location, which I've done like once ever, just because I didn't know where she was at one point. I worried that she genuinely had fell asleep or whatever in her car. I don't know. Hey, Carrie, I bought her when we were first dating in distance. I bought her a personal stun gun. You can order on Amazon. It's like $30. I gave her a stun gun. I'm like, okay, if anyone ever tries to get at you, you have that on you. It's with you on your purse at all times here. I can't have you walking alone really anywhere not having protection of some kind here. So I got her a 9-foot bear mace spray and a stun gun. It's in her purse. That way she has like something of value.
Mm-hmm.
I brought up like safety and protocol. Like, obviously, if I'm with you, I wish somebody would. I would fucking destroy them.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't be with you all day long, 24/7. So the next best thing here is that we become more self-aware that there are douchebags and mischievous agents in the world here, and I need you to look out for yourself.
That's
so you can kind of
that's actually
have that
pretty interesting
with her.
Yeah, because to me it's like it's very hard to like see them, because for us, we have built the shield, we've like fucking molded the shield, we've like solidified it with reinforced steel or whatever, right? Like that shit probably doesn't get to you at all. But like for them, like in my experience, it's like a level of apathy almost, because what you're trying to describe is like, this is the world we live in. Let's take measures to like make sure that we understand that we are protected against like the worst of the worst in the worst case scenario or whatever. But I'm almost like, it's like maybe like some toxic kind of like, you know how people sometimes parent each other in relationships in a way where it's like demeaning.
No, I hear you. Are you having trouble accepting how to approach bringing her to a smash major? Does that worry you?
That's a good way to kind of frame it. And it's like not even because I'm scared that anything would happen necessarily. It's more so that I'm just like, scared that like she might have a new level of self-consciousness that comes from just being a woman in a man's space for the first time.
That's fair. It's not really you. It's not you parenting her in that regard. It's you're giving her the heads up here. Either she's going to learn the hard way through maybe one awkward encounter.
That's true, but like here's what I'm really trying to say to dig at the point of it is like, I'm worried about what unintended consequences that could have on like her outlook on what I do for a living, or like what potential like things that she could engage with that she finds interesting or whatever, you know, like I see this very apathetic sort of POV from a lot of women in the gaming space of like, oh yeah, this guy DM'd me like this threat, blah, blah, blah. And here I am talking about it for the first time a year later. Like,
yeah, I don't know, man.
I mean, there's no real solution, you know.
It's just a tough one.
It is.
It's a tough one because Venom goes through the same shit. She gets flamed hard to the point where unsolicited from me.
Yeah.
Right. I learned as I asked her about it, she would tell me about it. She wouldn't come forward with these things.
That's what I'm saying. Man,
the problem here is that with Venom, she was already a gamer, so she already had to deal with all this shit. So this was all the things she knew by the time that we even got together already. So like,
almost like a part of me respects that they have their own shield, right? Like I do respect, but at the same time, it's like I just don't think that this is going to be a good path forward. Like as a whole in the future, like I'm just a little bit worried about like why is it just so easy to ignore for a year plus? Not easy. Why is that the shield instead of potentially like, I don't know. I guess like my girlfriend, what she'll do a lot of times, like whenever something like creepy happens to her at work or something, like she'll like tell me about it. And when we first started dating, it would piss me the fuck off, man. 'Cause she works at a retail store. So like, and
it would piss you off that it happened and you couldn't do anything about undoing it.
It's just like now you have like 5.5% more like of a doomer attitude towards, you know, the world because this guy like literally looked at you in this way that made you feel like you were like nothing or whatever, you know, like this guy made some kind of sexually suggestive comment to you. Now every day when you go to work, it's like you're worried that your shirt, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
I think you're too caught up in what's almost like a guardian-esque role and not a partner role because you're almost like you want to shroud her from reality as is.
Yeah.
To keep her artificially, synthetically, unsustainably blissful or happier, quote unquote, that's an asterisk there, than like her being in swoon into the real world here.
You know what? That's a good point. You know what that makes me think is I feel like that's just like a learned behavior from me having to experience so much of the like darker parts of the world as like a younger person. You know, it's
your familiarity bias with the dark side of online chronic communities and gaming as a whole.
And maybe I'm not convinced that was okay, that I had to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's definitely some shit.
Because it's almost like if I was like 18, 19, I definitely would never. I always had this like speech. I almost had like a prepared speech to explain away my childhood as like the best thing that ever happened to me, so I could become this person that is able to empathize with other people and help other people. You know, which there is a part of me that does feel that way, and I have seen a lot of like my personal relationships become closer, or people be touched by the fact that I can like empathize with their perspective easier. But I'm in this point in my life now where I'm just getting like to that age where it's like, damn, man, like not everybody had that experience. And I don't know if that makes me happier to have had, like, I don't know if I'm okay with all these things. Maybe talking about my own experiences would help more.
Yeah, you also can bring this further around here because me and Venom had a long discussion when we were venturing from. Because also remember, we also had different things. We started in long distance for like 9 months, and then we got together. So it was already like we had to remove all doubt and all fail points before we got together because it was going to be her moving from Ohio to Louisiana. That was going to be a lot.
Can I tell you this? I'm sorry not to interrupt, but like I remember you like talking about that. I remember, I mean, in the Dr. K one, but even like as a viewer of your stream, like when it was actually happening, and I was like sus of you. I was like, damn, man, like you really trust someone that much, or like you're going all in, like, because I remember what you said. It was like we're not trying to live in this like existential dread of when are we going to see each other next and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
and here I am living with my girlfriend, and I understand that shit completely. God damn.
Yeah, dude.
That was smart. Very smart.
Yeah, okay. There's so many things about that. The thing about the distance was, I'm like, and I was new to the game. I didn't know that was the life, but the only thing I had of reference there was I got catfished 3 times before I got with her.
Oh, that's
so I already. Jesus. So in a way, it's like I'm humble now because the catfish humbled the fuck out of me. Where I'm like, okay, I gotta get all these spell checks good here. So we did all that. That
was one of your emotional needs, I guess, right?
Oh my god, dude. Yeah. In fact, actually, fun fact
The
here.
crux. Yeah.
I think it's probably a public fact now, but like the first month of me and Venom talking, it was me just chronically going through every fail check on Ishireel. Like I was just all the things I was doing were coincidental like checks of like, hey, I'm at my fridge. What's in your fridge right now? You know, it was all these things just to be able to like, okay, a catfish could not doctor this many aspects this spontaneously, continuously for weeks on end.
God damn,
and
I'm
only
sorry
after a month of it did I
sucks.
finally like move on to, okay, I'm gonna accept this is actually real now.
Well, hey man, I will say this, man. Thank God it was real, because that's a beautiful thing, you know, that she.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, she gave you that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I appreciate that.
And to anyone in the chat out there, I do feel a little guilty. You know what I mean? Like us having this kind of conversation, because if I was 16 watching this right now, I would fucking hate us.
Oh.
You know what I mean, man?
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. But
all I'm gonna say is, like, dude, I'm 23. You're 34, right?
Yeah.
Just take the. Just be patient, y'all. I promise, man. Just be patient, man. Because I just see so many young people, man.
I can't even really. I want to make a compassionate plea to the Zoomers, to the 16-year-olds here, but it's kind of tough because like the reality is, I would be you. I would have been like competitively in there at 16 or 15 or whatever. The difference was that just literally the opportunity didn't come for all of us. It wasn't like a generational thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it simply put, when I was 16, streaming was non-existent. The internet was in its quote unquote golden age here. It was fucking forums and Neopets. It was pre-social media, pre-smartphone.
Yep.
You know, that's like people can't even like. It's like for me, it's like
I miss it.
Like Zoomers will look at a movie from like 2010 and be like, wow, pre-COVID, no mask. And I look at a movie from fucking 2002, like I don't know, fucking I don't know, whatever, Friday 2, whatever the fuck.
You know what's
my
like, you know where I
pre-smartphone, pre-social media, dude.
It's the people born after 9/11 and before 9/11. That's where I draw the line, man.
Yeah,
which might even be a little like crazy to people that are older than me, but like, yeah, like my girlfriend, she's 19, so like, she went to her senior year of high school was COVID, like.
Shit, dude! Wow.
Like, dude, even just being 4 years older than her, like that is it.
A huge step. Yeah.
The time skip is real. It is real.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I call it COVID tax. You know, it's like add 5 years of life experience.
And then me, I was always like an old soul kid or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I always got along with older people well. All my friends were fucking 20-year-old smashers, and like when I was at the loft, I was the youngest by far.
You had that thing, right, where it's like your circle was more mature, and it forced you to like accelerate emotional intelligence considerably.
Absolutely, and like I think my dad, like he always like talked to me like an adult, but not in like a authority figure way. Yeah, like I give so much props to my dad for my love of like just talking with people, because he would it used to piss me off a lot, but he would force me to like really expand on what I'm trying to say, and to like he taught me how to get to the root of why I feel certain things. And like whenever we would talk about politics, he would make me like have sources, and whenever we would talk about like gaming, he would tell me to stop being like so like dismissive of every game all the time just because I read a review online. And like when we would talk about shit, you know what I mean? So I guess my compassionate plea side of me comes from like the fact that I did have a tough childhood, but I was also taught to be patient, because like those lessons will like aid me later in life. And for those of you guys out there that are like really like struggling with the lack of emotional support being present in your life, or not able to like, you know, find the one that gives you the chance, or the like, if you're not able to get into the field right with dating, because I didn't have my first relationship till I was 19, and it hurt a lot to be like rejected, just like to the point where I wasn't even putting myself in the game. Like to be the guy that like could like make all my friends' relationships better, but to never get that like same chance on my own. It's just, I would say like be careful before you dismiss somebody just because they're not exactly like you or had your same shared experience, because ironically enough for me, it came from somebody who was a lot more sheltered than me, a lot more normie than me, somebody that was very very much able to see how much of my personality was kind of like a response to the rejection, and to accept that and to like still love me anyways and like teach me how to be accepted, you know? And I promise you guys, man, like that shit, it's hard. Enjoy while it's easy to just care about yourself or whatever, okay? But like, you know,
I have 2 points on that. One is that the more preconceived entitlements you have to you envision your partner needing, the more exclusionary you are, and therefore the lower of a success ratio you're making your own dating pool.
And the more closed-minded you're making yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
at the end of the day, man, no matter
how non-negotiable you're currently being right now.
You got to live in your own head, no matter what country you live in, no matter what state you're in, no matter what kind of house you're in, no matter what fucking how much money you have, blah blah blah. You have to live in here, first and foremost, right? Like, that's just something I don't like the fantasy of like the world is turning to shit necessarily, like. The escapism of like, oh yeah, like I saw someone in your chat say like, I don't know, man, these kids are being raised by the internet as their third parent. Dude, so was I. Like, you know, and like if you guys are hearing me talk right now, you might not, when you say that, you don't mean it the same way that like I don't know. How do I say this? I guess what I'm just saying is you never know the pros and cons of like how people's different life, like how someone else's life has impacted them until you really get to know them on that like deep kind of vulnerable level. And you don't know like how much your own life is affecting your POV on that kind of stuff until like you really do that introspection. And you don't necessarily have to become like a Buddhist monk, wise old saint, but like I really would recommend like learning how to like live within your own head before you dismiss other people's, like your fantasy perception of other people's shortcomings. And it's so much easier said than done. And I know it sounds higher than thou, but like
the journey towards introspection is not linear at all.
It's not. It can't be 100% internal, and it can't be outright rejected. Like, and it'll happen naturally. That's the good news, right? Everybody becomes, not everybody necessarily, but like it gets easier with age. And I'm sure you probably have an even better perspective on that.
I do. I mean, you kept going on and on. I had like 3 things.
I'm sorry.
But it's like, I think we should probably move on. We can say this for another episode, because I feel like the more off rails we get, the more it's not becoming a podcast. It's becoming more almost like a stream thing now. Mm-hmm. So we already went over 2 hours, which is kind of like where
I'm honestly down to call it for today if you are.
Yeah, we should probably migrate towards a stopping point. We didn't really get to touch on that. But just for the sake of closure, we could do like the final topic. We won't even do take questions because we are already like this is already a bloated ass YouTube video at this point. Mm-hmm. I did tease earlier when you were bringing up your diet thing. Yeah. About what I think was your Weapon X point that made your weight loss journey euphoric. You were saying you were enjoying the journey, and I think I knew what that was. I think I knew what clicked in your brain here, because I've been coaching my community on taking health more seriously. It's actually one of the most popular channels on my Discord is the Health and Fitness Center. That's awesome. And quite a few of them are hitting the gym like me, and they ask me questions, and then I help them refine their workouts and all that jazz there. But the question, the thing here is like, what is the Weapon X of losing weight? And I think the thing that you were getting at there, because you said what got me here was you said that you were doing keto and intermittent fasting simultaneously, and you didn't feel like shit. You were just like, no, I'm vibing because I'm
it's actually the best I've ever felt physically in my whole life.
Something's clicking here. Yeah, you had some level of reassurance, and I think I know what that was. For me, what clicked was like, oh, I don't have to feel full when I eat. I can just eat for fuel, and I don't need the fullness to indicate that I ate. I used to just literally eat until I felt conventional Amerifat full. Just like my stomach is.
Wait, I have one question. Have you ever been fat? Because when I was fat, bro, and sometimes I even still slip into this. Like, dude, I was full all the time. Like,
Yeah, boredom eating. Yeah, you just like, you're snacking down.
That was my escapism. Yeah.
Bro, I was like, I was a pretty heavy kid actually. I had I didn't learn how to cook. My tech skill was only as far as like grilled cheese, cereal. I would not corn dogs, but the pancake on a sausage on a stick. I would microwave those all the time. I would smack down like 3 of those a day. Like, and they were just nutritionally terrible for you.
Yeah.
I was, my whole thing was like cereals. I would do cereal into cereal into cereal. I would do 2 cereal bowls back to back. I didn't give a fuck.
I feel so guilty listening to this because I'm so skinny fat right now. But go ahead.
But yeah, so I would just eat this nutritionally void trash, and the only way to achieve fullness with this trash is to eat a fuck ton of it. So that's what I would do, and the only comfort I knew was like to get full, and that was it. But once I recognized and learned here that this is a facade. Your fullness does not indicate your nutritional quality or your nutritional intake. That's when I was like, oh, this is how you lose weight. Okay, I have to make peace with not feeling full. Okay, all right.
And it's almost like I think what really helped me was, and this is something I've learned about myself. I don't know if everyone's like this, but when I learned like in detail, like the complexity as to why that's true, that's when it became a lot more motivating to actually follow through on it, just because it was almost like I was running an experiment on my own life.
Yeah.
Like when I learned the differences between like how like a fat, protein, and carb gram can affect you, or like, like I remember like to this day, like I doubt most people look at nutrition labels and understand what the fuck is going on there. I understand that, you see like the sugars and the blah, 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 but like, man, I could look at a nutrition label and tell you like 30 minutes worth. Yeah. And like, to me, like that became like, that's something I never, ever would have thought I gave a fuck about, but just
because it didn't make sense. Then it was behind the shroud of like misinformation or just like, ignorance all around.
Yeah. It's like always packaged with some sort of like they're trying to sell you something especially in the food industry, man. Like there's so much advertising intermixed with the information, and like high school health classes are dog shit.
They're dog shit.
Dog shit.
So there's one fact here that really changed the whole game for me. Cause like, okay, so I was like, okay, wait. I don't have to feel full to get my nutrition and all that jazz, right? But then the second fact I learned here was one that changed my entire outlook. And I was like, okay, now I really understand it, which was that, okay, not all foods are going to get you full in equal amount.
Yeah.
Your stomach takes longer to break down the nutrients the more complex the meal is. So if you're consuming a meal that's nutritionally complex, that contains, a combination simultaneously of carbs, proteins, good fats, and fiber at the same time, that's way more nutritional complexity than just, McDonald's, which is going to be mostly carbs and bad fats. But that's really about it. Proportionality wise, it's mostly just a fuck ton of carbs and a fuck ton of fat.
And carbs, obviously. Like one thing that I learned that was a game changer was just learning that like your body processes carbs virtually, or simple carbs, right? Like the same as like if you're just literally taking a spoonful of sugar. Like that's a little bit of an oversimplification, but the fact that if I'm eating a piece of bread and I'm eating like a Twix,
people think that bread's essential and it's really not.
Well, and it's not their fault at all, because like, damn, we just didn't.
No, yeah,
I don't know how much of a mix of it is like, like marketing or like whatever, like versus just the fact that like science has changed the amount we know about carbs has exponentially grown in the last 20 years versus like the school textbook, pie chart or whatever, right? But like, man, like I didn't know fat wasn't making you fat. Like,
right, yeah.
I had such a, like in my mom had no idea about none of this shit, and my mom's mom obviously didn't, and like the way food is so like so environmental in a way that like your family get-togethers are gonna be a certain way because of the culture of your family and their parents' and the passing down of like the escapism of bad food. And like for me, like fast food, right? Like my parents are both avoidant as hell, and like we love fast food, always have. Like almost every day my parents would get me fast food. They did not ever have any sort of guilt about that. And that was something I had a lot of resentment at first, for sure. Like I got to this point where I like started to understand that the way that I feel when I want to go have some McNuggies is a lot of it has to do with the way I felt when I was sad as a kid and my parents had no way to help except for get me the fucking McNuggets or whatever, you know? And like, it was just, I think what really lit that fire in me to start making those changes in my life was, it was a sense of agency that came from like accepting the fact that this has been a coping mechanism for me for a long time, and that I can find newer, healthier coping mechanisms while also feeling better, while also educating people in my life to be more healthy if they want. And I'm sure this is something you understand, because like, I think I had maybe 10, maybe 20 like people in my life like lose weight, do keto or do whatever diet, or just like actually genuinely inspired to like change their lives because I lost weight. That was mind blowing, man. Like, I had people asking me all the time, like, what diet did you do? Blah, blah, blah. And I always was like,
do it? What'd you do?
Exactly. And I was always like, you're not going to fucking do it, in the back of my head. But then,
well, not only that, you know what they're asking you, right?
Yeah.
What's the Weapon X?
Yeah.
What was the secret thing? Because like they don't want to hear that it's the boring answer.
Of course,
you know, reevaluation of lifestyle choices, and like, you know,
they want the unconventional wisdom
and moderation of what you're eating and all you know, the boring part. You know,
they don't. You know what your Weapon X is, and I think I have a similar one. Is we can make the boring not boring. We can like transcend the mundane. You know,
that's a very good. Yeah. Because once it cracks,
in a way, I feel that's my
that
dharma.
thing I feel is a reaction to a thing I've always been doing. I took it for granted. Once I understood, I'm like, wait. What other things have I assumed are just non-negotiable?
Yep,
they are.
There you go.
The feeling of fullness, that was just something I had for over, you know, I don't know, like fucking like over 10 years. But I was 22 years old when I finally gave a shit about dieting for real, and I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah,
like, you already ahead of the game. You were on this shit like. I don't know what year was that? You started.
I was
17?
18. I was 18.
18. I was 22 when I finally gave a shit about that kind of thing. Like I was like, but also my world was smaller, right? You were already like doing the.
And I could not have learned it without like the availability of information online.
Yeah, like information and traveling and having a perspective and you know Like
and whatever deterministic thing made that YouTube video pop up for me.
Until fucking 2009. So yeah, for me, you know. 2011, me giving a shit about the fitness was like, you know, in proportionality to like me finally leaving my front door.
You know what's crazy too? Dude, the amount of resistance I faced at first was, I think that's what really made me start to believe in myself, like, or like completely changed my outlook. It definitely, like, the amount of resistance I got to telling people that I was doing a diet and that I was losing weight and that I was going to do it was like the most fucking shocking thing I've ever seen in my life. Like how much crabs in a bucket really exists. Like people don't want to feel like you're not on their team anymore in a way. So like,
the ones who are like, hey, that thing you're doing is directly violating my core values.
Yeah.
You're invalidating my entitlement.
But like when you have smart friends, it's even worse.
You able to say no to those nuggets is invalidating what I'm saying that I can't say no to those nuggets.
You know what's the number one thing I got? I always got, you're going to gain the weight right back. If you do keto, you're going to gain it back. If you do this, you're going to gain it back. Like blah, 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 blah. And I was like, all right, motherfucker, I'm literally going to the doctor and they're telling me I'm 200 pounds. I have pre-hypertension. I'm at risk for diabetes and all this shit. And then I went to my doctor like again, and he literally shed a tear. So I don't really care what article you read. I literally feel better every single day of my life. I look better. I am going to like breathe easier every day. Like I heard someone say this once. Okay. And I really am sympathetic to anyone that's overweight out there and like apathetic about it. But I really, this did change my perspective, man. Being fat is like being in like a prison. Every single part of your life is impacted by it and you are restricted. And it's so fucking demoralizing. And I understand that.
Confidence, first impression, self-doubt.
Dude, just the way you sleep, the way you breathe, like the like way you look at yourself in the mirror after you try on or like, let's say you're at this was like my childhood trauma, man. Going to like Dick's Sporting Goods or something, right? And like, oh, I want to get this Nike shirt. This shit looks dope. go to the trying room because like my mom's not gonna let me waste the money because she knows I haven't worn half the shirts that she got me in the past because they didn't sit right on me or whatever, right? So I go to this trying room and I just see my fucking man titty nipples poking out, and I'm just like, oh, guess this dope shirt is not for me.
What I say there, okay, it's the same moment you're bringing up right now here, is when people, before you hop in the shower, you're nude in front of your mirror in the bathroom and you do the self-judgmental check. You're like, you look at something and you're like, Like you try to suck in the gut. Try to suck in the gut and you're like, okay, yeah, a little bit, right? I'm almost there. But you're not, it's copium. And then you kind of like, okay, yeah. Then you finally like let it go and you're like, okay, man boobs and like.
I guess I'm almost even talking to the people that are beyond that. Cause like I had gotten to the cope point in my mind where I was like, dude, I just don't care. I don't fuck with these girls. I don't fuck with these guys. I don't care what nobody says, bro. They're going to tell me to stop slouching. I don't give a fuck when you say that. You're going to give me a piece of advice. I don't care. I'm not going to listen, blah, blah, blah. Because I really was there and I was young. So it wasn't as hard set in me. But that is kind of the environment I grew up in. Like to this day, every single person in my family still smokes cigarettes. You know, like the outside judgment does not resonate with me or like people in my life nearly as much as I would say I see it in a lot of other people in the world, especially as I've gotten older and met more people outside of my kind of comfort zone or my bubble. I see like the amount of impact social pressure has on people. So I'll say this, find whatever aspect of self-improvement speaks to you. Like when it resonates, don't be afraid to like try to figure out why. And like, instead of getting caught in the, does this matter? Does this not matter? Will this really help? Will it not help? What's the best diet? What's the worst diet? Will I gain back the weight after I do this? Will jogging work better than sprinting? Will this and that, you know what I mean? Like, just try to figure out why you're actually interested in doing whatever self-improvement kind of thing you are interested in, and just do some experiments. How will I feel if I wake up every day and don't look at my phone for the first hour? This is something I heard Dr. K say before, and it's like, it's a beautiful, beautiful way to say it, because you don't really, it's so hard for us to understand that we're not actually all the same baseline and level. Like, no one person on Earth's experience is actually identical to another person's experience. My diet affected me a way that it'll affect nobody else exactly. You know, like, I can't say that the keto diet's the best way to do it, but I can say for me, I had never felt better in my entire life. I didn't gain back the weight. I did not have like a terrible relationship with carbs afterwards. Like, I just kind of did it, saw what happened, took the information and moved on in my life and didn't obsess over it.
Yeah. I think what you're getting at here is that, like, which is something I completely endorse, by the way, as well here. I've also learned the hard way. It's the right way to go about it here. Do not obsess over what is the objective, maximum efficient way to better yourself.
Yeah, you can't min-max everything.
Don't get
when
caught
you're
in
not
that
there.
rabbit hole. Instead, implore starting with the areas that naturally intrigue you the most. Let your interest and infatuation fuel your curiosity, rather than be operating in a guilt-funded mindset.
Beautiful. Perfect way to say it.
That's how I would put it.
That's the same advice I give to people.
If you're funded by guilt, then you have a codependent mechanism to keep you motivated. The minute the guilt is alleviated and you hit your first reward mechanism, you'll fall apart.
Well, you have to feel guilty again, right?
Yeah, when people go to the gym because they feel like, oh no, I have shamed, I've sinned, I've eaten bad, I deserve this gym. I hate it, I'm exhausted, it's boring, I don't like it, but it's what I deserve. But that only works for like a week and a half. Then once you've like done it enough where you're familiar with it, and you're like, okay, I've done an infinite percent more of gym than I've done before, from 0 to infinite percent higher, right? It's like, okay, I earn this reward mechanism. And then once you do that, and you haven't actually lost any weight, and there's no tangible, like, visible difference in your body, you're like, well, what the fuck? I did all this suffering. I had this preconceived entitlement that because I'm doing the thing now, I'm doing the thing, I'm going to the gym. Yeah, I should be getting what I get. Yeah, and that's where it falls apart. So yes,
and where it starts to build as soon as you get curious again. I think curiosity is the key word, man. Like, Same advice I give to people in Smash that I've seen. I'm damn near confident to say I know it's a fact.
Man, dude, we didn't even.
I know.
We didn't even touch on Smash improvements.
That's what I'm saying. We should make it. Maybe
bars. I got bars there, dude.
Maybe a bi-weekly thing. You know what I mean?
I think bi-weekly is fair.
I'm actually surprised that we took the route we did on this conversation, but I'm almost happy we did because.
Wait, what do you mean by that? You thought it was gonna be like
that we talked about Steve for an hour instead of talking about like improvement and stuff, but I'm actually pretty happy we did because that's actually pretty out of our comfort zones, you know? So,
yeah, I admit you're going to give me all the introspective logic X emotional sides of it because you kind of operate the same way I did, honestly. Well, might be the same like mental pattern on that one.
Man, this is how I feel about all these like dramas in the community nowadays. Is like I see so much nuance to it that I quite literally can't put it in 180 characters, like 240, whatever. I almost can't even talk about it on stream because it's like all I'm gonna do, I know, is that I need almost a second person there because it's like so hard for me to like have it to not ride the fence in a way, because I feel so guilty like giving like a really like black and white outlook on things when I know in my own head that that's not.
You gotta let go of that. You gotta let go of the whole like, because what you're exposing me right now is that you would feel more confident and assured of your takes if you had better tournament results. Like if you were as good as Light, you wouldn't give a shit. You'd be like, you just fire off and be like, yeah, fuck Steve, ban him, whatever.
Maybe. I'm not 100% sure how I respond to that.
I'm a hard read on that. I'm calling it out right now. If you were top 10, top 20 ultimate, you would fire off and be like, yeah, look, if you got a problem with that,
you know what? You're actually right. You are right. Because, dude, you know what it is, man? You know what it is like, I just had so many conversations with people where it's like, I know I have more authority on the subject, more expertise, more knowledge, been around longer, have thought about it more, heard more perspectives on it. And just because I'm not a top player, they'll actually like sit there and argue with me when I try to give them advice, or like they'll like
who's they? Who's they? Who's they arguing with? Smash players? What?
Yeah. Like so, like people in my local scene, maybe, or like the last house I lived in, like I had 2 roommates, and not that they were dumb or anything. It's just like when we would try to, or like people would come over to our house all the time, and we would always like have like talks about like the meta, or like what character is better than this character is better than this character. This character is like, is this character bullshit or not? Blah, blah, blah. Like all that kind of talk, or like, what's this matchup? All these like little like metagame kind of discussions. I would just like notice that they would dismiss what I'm saying, but parrot like the same kind of opinion that like somebody else said because they were better than me, or like kind of just like they would like dick ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they dick ride.
yeah. So like,
well, that's also why it was important.
Though,
this is why you may have a good take that could be victim to poor framing. Notice how I approached saying what I said versus how you said it.
Yeah.
What I said was right, that like we should ban the tech, but ban the tech's impractical, therefore ban the character.
I was surprised
That's only my logical side, because emotionally the spectatorship is a huge factor for sustainability. And for those reasons, my opinion-based reasons of that watching Steve is boring and lame as fuck.
I see. Whereas I lead with like, this is great.
You led with appeal to emotion.
That's a really good point.
And the problem with appeal to emotion is they have to already like have some perception bias of who you are and what you do. And when they will, because you play low tier, zoner, loser ass Link, and you're not top, you're not fat cock, daddy McTop top 20. So leading instead with a coherent logic that they can like adopt the framing of, or the logical framework of, and then you go.
But you know what's so like, I'm so fragile in this department now, because you know what happens, like my default is to like, because I almost feel like I see the root, right? Like you say, like if I had more collective respect for my skill, then people would just inherently accept what I'm saying as true instead of even arguing with me in the first place. I feel like I start to like say, okay, but like I lived with Cosmos and Tweak and talked to them about this, so this is why, and we talked about this thing, they taught me this, so listen to me. Or like they
still appeal to emotion.
It is. No, that's what I'm saying. But like, or like, you know, I've been a top player in Ohio for 8 years. You've been around for 2 years. I remember when I was first on the PR, I thought that I should have been higher, lower, blah, 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 or I thought it mattered. And I always saw it falling flat. Like it always fell on deaf ears. And so I felt like, and it made them lose respect for me because I was appealing to, I wanted them to I was like, okay, motherfuckers, I'll go ego. If you won't accept my gray area, compassionate plea of like, listen to my 20-minute opening statement and do the train wrecks. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like every 5 seconds and like whatever, right? That I'm just going to go ahead and tell you why I'm smarter than you. And obviously that's not a good route to take. So
yeah, that's not a good route to take there. Yeah.
So I guess you're right. I am sort of missing like the third route of just like, and this is something Dr. K is actually amazing at. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but he always starts a talk or a topic with something that will like stimulate like the conversation. Like, okay, well, or like even it's like clickbait in a way. It's like, yeah, I'm pro banning the tech. And then I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're going to have a debate here. And then you're like, yeah, well, I'm pro banning the tech, but in reality, I understand how it's blah, blah, blah. Or like Dr. K would be like, okay, well, if somebody's depressed and they're telling you they're suicidal, you should actually tell them that you understand why suicide's an option in their mind before you go into like... Before
you attack them.
Yes, and that is radically...
Yeah, you have to build a compassion bridge to open their communication.
You have to show if you
come in frame one with like stigmatization and you almost become the antagonist.
You do. That's exactly what would happen. And that's exactly what happened. I would literally try to be the bridge, and then I turned into the bridge builder, and I would see it happen over and over and over again in these conversations, and it just made me really, really, really self-conscious about debating topics.
Well, you also can keep in mind here too that we also grounded it not just with like a logical separation from the appeal to emotion side of it, but we also played the simulation too. We simulated what enforcing the tech would look like. It's impractical. We simulated what the spectator side effects would be based off historical evidence of Bayonetta and Smash 4. Like we did the whole thing where like, I don't think we were intending to make like a compelling Ban Steve video, but I think what we have here is if it was like edited better and tighter and had like more visual aid, it's like, yeah, here you go, right? Like it's like not hard to,
Sure, I mean, for some people, yeah.
I mean, if they want to, or they have to debate like literally 4 different points of like empirical evidence here,
Yeah.
That's true. Is economically more vulnerable than ever right now.
And those are just the kind of debates that I love to have. That's kind of like where I've learned to like start letting it be more instead of like trying to force other people to dive down.
Because all they're going to do there is like, when you make a good argument, they have to like take down so many evidence-based points that are reinforcing your simulation. That's also being based on your logic that they're probably going to expose their own assumptions trying to counter you. Because they'll be like, no, the economic smash isn't bad right now. And it's like, right.
That's actually such a good point
that we disagree on here. They're going to say that. Like, no, I don't agree with that. And you're like, okay, well, how?
Because it didn't click for me until somebody did that with me and in my beliefs, until somebody was willing to engage me where I'm at and then allow me to sort of start to see the holes in my own logic. That is actually really well said. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been in space for a while now, so it's like, now I didn't share all this on Twitter on day one here, but, actually, to bring it all back to Smash here, if I can toot my own horn, there was, so whenever the this is like the most, I haven't been active on Smash, or I haven't been active on Twitter at all lately. I've actually been like, I've been reading books. I've been reading books to, I wanted to make sure I said here on January 18, I was like, whenever I finish reading this book, attention span, a groundbreaking, restore balance, help happiness and productivity here. It's like Dr. Gloria Mark, she did this like huge study on like productivity and essentially understanding here that like we humans are primitive cavemen compared to how advanced the art of productivity and multitasking has become now. And like understanding like what the effects are of even just swapping between emails to Discord to
Absolutely.
How to maintain focus, how to achieve flow state and the productivity, how to find peace with it and whatnot. What social media has done with gamifying attention spans and all the, there's all this shit that's happened.
Oh yeah.
the entire the notion of workflow has changed more in the last 20 years than the previous fucking I don't even know.
It's the min-max world we live in. Yes.
Yeah. And even just reading her takes on what, because she's done experiments on what happens when I give workers one email client and analog paper and pen and pencil. What happens when I give them an email client and an internal Slack?
Yeah.
What happens? She genuinely did all these studies on workplace productivity, happiness, and maintenance to see how can we reverse engineer our brains and understand what's happening and what can we make from that. It's such an amazingly fascinating book. I'm having a blast reading it.
That's awesome.
And I wanted to finish reading it before I resume Twitter again. So
what's cool
that
too?
way I can and get a Twitter detox myself as well.
I almost ran that experiment on myself, and one thing I learned is that I actually prefer pen and paper. I have filled 3 journals in the last 2 years. I do a daily log journaling. I write down my scripts whenever I'm working on videos. Before stream, I write down shit. Whenever I'm in a bad mood, I write that out. And I used to do. I still do a lot of shit on Google Docs here and there or whatever. But man, paper and pencil to me is so soothing and it's so private. I've always used Twitter as a journal. My whole experience on Twitter, I've never been the guy that was able to build the brand on Twitter because I don't really I'm not a meme kind of guy. I don't really.
Yeah, no. I think you're a lot like me mentally. It's I grew to where I did almost by accident, and now that I've had to figure out how to actually do.
It's
shit
so competitive
with
now.
It's lame. People once you get to a certain size, you can just fart on Twitter and you get 1,000 likes. And I'm
no, if you fart on Twitter, that will get 1,000 more likes than the fucking whatever. Literally, you could tweet what you just said right there about the book you're reading, in excitement and joy and wanting to share it, and it will quite literally fall on deaf ears.
Yeah.
And that is tough to. I respect the.
I've had tweets where I've done high effort hour-long contemplation shit post ideas that have gotten 100 likes, and then the shit that I spent 0 effort 5-minute compulsive tweeting got 1,800 likes in a second. And I'm I don't understand how that shit works, honestly. I really don't.
Yep.
So what I got here for you was
16,
my most recent.
It makes sense, but go ahead.
That you would really, really appreciate here. I bumped the thread I made. Okay, so there was a thread I made in 2021, and it was literally the quote tweet to Panda announcing that infamous sponsored circuit, right? And I want you to see here.
Did you hard read down?
Actually, no. I want you to read this out loud. Okay. Read it for me. I want to follow along while you're reading it.
All right.
See what you think.
I trust Panda to know what they're doing, but I would still be cautiously optimistic. That can either be a great thing or a horrible thing for the scene. Allow me to explain how. Not have to wait for your stream to catch up.
Oh, go. You're reading my. Okay, read my stream. Yeah. You want me to link it to you?
Yeah. Sure.
Let me.
And after this, let's wrap it up because I gotta have dinner with my girlfriend.
I'm hungry as fuck.
Me too. But I am curious. This is funny.
No, this is a W. It's gonna. Have you seen this before?
No.
Okay, this is gonna blow your mind then.
Pros: Nintendo acknowledges legitimacy of Melee. Nintendo undoing their stance of a decade plus of rupturing the scene. Panda knows the scene and would attempt to uphold competitive integrity. That's actually a really good point. Cons: Nintendo could lock out.
Look at the date.
Hold on. November 18th, 2021. Jesus Christ. This was actually 5-head take. Nintendo could lock out VGPC and BTS Smash, literally added them, from doing events. Bully, anti-competitive move, right? Nintendo could lock in competitors who enter this to not enter non-licensed tournaments. BS rule set appeasing Nintendo because Panda couldn't change their mind. Thank God, at least that one didn't happen, right? Why now?
It could have happened. I mean, no mods, no UCF.
Oh damn! Yeah, I didn't even think about the melee
would have been a hot mess, honestly.
That's true. I mean, true. Why now? Nintendo felt the pressure hardcore from the alleged leak claiming they've actively sabotaged competitive Smash growth for nearly a decade, and I do also believe that. I see that you've, because I remember us talking before, and I didn't think that you saw the empathy or the regret Nintendo could possibly have had for being so dog shit to us in the past, and that's something I see that. Why now? Platform fighters is a genre. They aren't Smash clones, and Nintendo is acknowledging it needs to do more. Nickelodeon and multiverses exist and are siphoning attention away from Smash. I disagree, but it might be Nintendo America's POV. I mean, as a business, that is a potential risk. Best case scenario, all the pros plus this, given that Nintendo's acknowledging Melee exists at all. Oh, here comes the hopium. Port.
Okay, it's best case, not most likely. Just
That's
best
true.
Case.
It's true. Port Melee to Switch. Releases alongside when Circuit starts. Conclusion. I'm excited to learn more. It can either be really good or really bad for Smash competitive as a whole. Given Panda Global is involved, I have faith. Oh no. Given Panda Global is involved, I have faith it'll be a net positive for the scene. I don't think they're interested in growing as an org at the cost of the scene. Damn, man.
Now, mind you, even though that was a carefully optimistic, but still stern on the negative possibility, I got a lot of shit for being a hater.
You actually covered all the bases too, man.
So,
wow.
And then now understand here that once the BTS, I'm sorry, the Panda,
the drama pretty much
right?
happened.
Yeah, people were bumping the cons tweet. People were bumping this, being like, "Holy fuck!" Someone knew a year in advance.
That is by far the most of People valued my 5-head take so hard that they organically bumped that, and then I finally bumped it myself here. Damn,
I was
man.
like, "Oh shit."
That's a really good.
The reason why I'm showing you this though is because notice how I gave, in my opinion, a really quality take, but the framing of it was done in a way where you can't shit on me. You can't just call me a discounted Smash hater. I love Smash a fuck ton.
You gave like your authority, like
I'm not an authority in Smash, so who's gonna give a fuck about my opinion? But I put it out there anyway. But I did it through a calculated framing that would excuse me of being called a fucking Smash hater.
You know what's crazy?
So,
I might have called you a hater. I might have. I don't think I would have actually, but maybe when I was like 18 or 16 or something, I would have. Cause like, I don't know what it is about Twitter, man, but like even just reading these tweets, like, I don't get the same sense. Like if you would have just said all of that to me in a conversation, I would have understood the comprehensive quality of your take. But like reading that in terms of a segmented thread, it's almost like I'm almost like wanting to say like, oh, it's kind of like a basic take, but it's not. It's like really like well
it's
done.
It's only basic because I had to pad it with the con part is the part I really wanted to say. Okay, so understand here, right? Okay, the reality here is notice what I did here, Colonies. What I did here was the actual important tweet, the pop-off tweet is the con part. I wanted to say the con part, so I'm like, y'all are delusional. You're not seeing here the possibility of exclusion and siphoning the community behind the paywall of.
And you knew that this was an immensely unpopular or like nobody else is thinking about this.
So I had to throw a bunch of cupcakes in the. I had to put my one rock shrouded by a bunch of cupcakes.
That's really that's interesting. I see what you're doing here.
Yeah. Because like obviously, if I just said the con only part as the opening one and only tweet, people would call me a Smash hater. People would just be like, okay,
they would have called you a hater, and it would have got more attention.
Yeah, but I don't like being.
I know, and don't get me wrong. I respect that. Like,
yeah, I don't thrive on being.
If you're not a cloud chaser, and this is something you probably agree with, like, dude, you just can't do it. Like, I've tried to be a cloud chaser, dude. I used to steal fucking memes from Reddit to post on Twitter and shit, but it doesn't last. It's just you can't. I don't care.
I feel like you have to kind of be relative. I don't know, like kind of a narcissist or whatever. Like it's not. It doesn't come naturally. It drains my. Okay, I can do it, but it drains my social battery so fucking hard, and it would drain it until I build artificially more ego to naturally be that way.
Well, what it does in my case, especially, is like I stop enjoying living up here as much when I start like sabotaging my own like.
Yeah, because you go from being colonies to person to colonies to content. Like it's all content. Like what's the content viability of this idea I have here?
And then all of a sudden I hate my chat, and all of a sudden I don't ever want to look at Discord, and all of a sudden I'm raging on Twitter every day, and I'm getting mad at some 16-year-old with a gray profile picture who probably got fucking bullied at school today, and it's like just taking it out on me, and you know what I mean? Like I'm like, whoa, it's very easy to slip into there. So I do respect that you're at least aware of your own like enjoyment of not clout chasing. Like it's like you said too, the commodity that is our attention span now. It's like you quite literally get a chemical response to every when you open up your notifications tab and you see that something popped off, it's going to like create like a high that increases your baseline for like positive emotion when you have like a super, let's like why people always post on their birthday and screenshot the balloons, and every time you do good at a tournament, first thing you do is open up Twitter. Like literally people are on stage rather than holding up their trophy, they're on their phone fucking tweeting. Like it's really wise, in my opinion, to not sabotage your daily like baseline level of enjoyment and stimulation with like super min-maxing the highs and lows. So I guess in a way that's very similar to what you're trying to do here, is like you're trying to create some sort of, or you're like basically projecting a system of mixing the highs with the, you know, the cupcakes, right? With the fucking like harsh reality. And it's very impressive to see other people at least care. Like, I'm glad that I am not just like overthinking it to the point where no one else, even like everyone else, is just min-maxing. So respectable.
Thank you. Yeah, and then you can go over. Then you also have the 1 year later bump where my official bump where everyone was like, "Holy shit!" Because see, and the funny thing about the 1 year later bump is like this is of course the only part of the tweet that I actually wanted to do. And now I can like show now that my reality was proven correct. Now I can show the tweet for what it actually is. Yeah. And everyone's like, "Holy fuck!" You know,
dude, that's just the kind of shit you're good at, man. I'm not gonna lie, man. Like that's.
No, I'm saying you can. I'm hoping this inspires you to see here that, you know, if you are mentally operating similar to me here, you're seeing like what I had to do to get over the fact that I'm not a Smash. You know, I don't have Smash skill or Smash clout in the context of like being able to give Smash opinions.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because you're discounting yourself because you're not like as good as like a top 20 player. Or I'm sorry. That's the wrong way to put it. You don't have the results of a top 20 player.
Yeah, like the authority, the outright authority assumed without like the need to, you know, expand
and
on
you can see here that I literally did a 7 tweet thread. 6 of it is just padding the actual point I wanted to fucking make.
At the same time, though, it's also like probably helping you articulate the point you actually want to make, because you're now having to consider the potential positives versus the negatives just by even putting yourself in the perspective of what is the positive outcome. Like what is best case? What is worst case? Like that's like a little bit of a life skill that's like unconscious for a lot of, especially adults, you know what I mean? Just like as a grown up 23-year-old here at this point, you know, wise, mature, old man, I see the many different layers that go into navigating.
And now what I'm saying here is that, you know,
situations.
The reason why I didn't do one for Steve is because I don't think like it's not my role. I don't think me putting my opinion out there is going to really change anything. My opinion here could change the perception of people to get to an actionable point, right? Me doing this for the Steve ban wouldn't really contribute much, I would say. That's why I didn't bother doing it. But you could. And I think you being way more active and engaged in the Smash community to a competitive level, I think you could do a parallel here of what I did with this tweet.
Wow.
In terms of like getting your.
That's a beautiful.
We have a similar take here on Steve, it seems. And I think if you took all your feelings about Steve and all your facts about Steve, and you figured out how to compartmentalize into the most appealing framing possible, it could make a difference, at least to your community. Anyway.
Well, I'll say this, okay? Because I don't really want to engage with that any further. I kind of just want to let that sit, like marinate on me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's garbage. Like Smash Twitter is garbage. So
well, not even just that. It's just like, yeah, it is garbage, but I don't want to go down that line of like, okay, but that's a great point and you're 100% right. But let me tell you the one obscure, like random negative emotion thing that could happen that would make me not do it. And then we just keep going down. Like, I'd rather actually just think about what you said, because I think it was really, you're right. God damn it. Good shit.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. I gotta go eat dinner, bro. That was
no, for sure. I gotta dip too, man. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Appreciate you as always.
You too, bro.
So what do you want to shoot for here? Like, because if we don't relatively pick something now, so you want to shoot for? Do you like Mondays?
I do like Monday. Yeah, I do
like Mondays too, because I do feel like Monday would be better. Because because we'll never fall on a Smash major.
Yeah, true. Weekends are definitely tough.
Yeah. I think it's better that we don't compete with Smash on that one. This would have been like a tremendous elevate to even try to do Sunday.
Do one last funny thing real quick. I was actually dreading like messaging you on Sunday, like, yo, I actually forgot collisions this weekend, man. We shouldn't do it. Like, blah blah blah.
Really?
Yeah, because I didn't want you to think I was putting it off. But then I woke up.
Who said that first? I said it. Oh,
you did, yeah.
You beta,
dude. I woke up right, and I was thinking before I went to sleep the night before, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna wake up and tell him that we shouldn't do it today, and it'll be fine. And he probably agrees. And then I just opened up Discord. I just see you like said exactly what I was thinking. I was like, that's my boy,
my dude,
Let's go. Dude. All right,
yeah, man.
How about bi-weekly?
Yeah, every other week, right?
I'm thinking that's probably the best. Because like if we both get it, if one of us gets into something or like whatever happens, like I just think it's a lot more manageable for like.
Yeah, no, we have such a we already have a naturally and we gotta be better about run time. No one's gonna watch this 3.5 hour episode here. Whatever the fuck, I gotta chop this in like 2 parts.
It's a byproduct of us just not getting to catch up for so long too. You know, the more and more we like iterate on the format, like it'll get easier.
You're right.
Eventually, we'll get to the point where we have trouble making it 2 hours, and that's the worst.
Well, that's actually good. I would argue because once we can, I think it's a better product to be likelier consumed once we're at the hour point. Honestly, you're not wrong. That's why we start with the. I mean, what podcast are you watching? Like who's watching?
No, me every day, every single day. I watch multiple of them too. I love long form content, dude.
Jesus Christ,
dude! I love the Lex Friedman podcast. Shout out to Lex Friedman. All right.
Okay. Another episode topic. Then I'll have to see here. Okay.
I could give you a deep dive on podcast recommendations, but
okay, sir.
For now, you guys should check it out on YouTube. YouTube.com/@colonies or YouTube.com/thecolonies or whatever if you want to see the VOD.
Do your thing.
I'm gonna upload it tonight, so it'll be up by probably about 10. Should be up by like 10. Okay. And
have time.
Yeah, I might stream some Smash later tonight. So if any of you guys want to see me play and not just talk, you can see that maybe. But thank you, man. Thank you, bro. That was a great conversation.